Friday. Thank God this week is almost over. Welcome in, Tier 1s. It is Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan, but it's not Ben and Woods. It's not Ben and Paul. We are a little short-handed this morning. Tier 1s are going to need you today as we head toward 10 o'clock this morning. It has been an absolute week. Let me start by introducing the program. To my right, nobody. Usually Woods is sitting to my right. He is off today with his lovely family, taking a nice little long weekend, going up to see the Eagles at the Sphere tonight in Las Vegas. I believe they got an early start, hopefully driving up right now through the probably snowy mountain passes. Be safe out there, Woods. We need you on Monday, so I don't want anything to happen on the wet roadways of Southern California. To my left, usually is Paul Reindl. He is not here either, under the weather. He was starting to feel it yesterday, so we're giving him the day off, and hopefully he gets better over the weekend. So we have Adam Klug sitting over there, not even on camera at the moment, but he is definitely here. Good morning, Adam. Say hi to the good people out there.
Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Sam. Good morning to all the Tier 1s.
And as you just teased, we do have on my YouTube feed in front of me from Peoria, Arizona, and the Airbnb he has called home for the past, 3.5 weeks or so at this point. The great Sam Levitt is going to be sitting in for at least large parts of the program today. Good morning, Sammy. It is very, very nice, especially for me and probably the Tier 1s to see your face today, because 4 hours of just me with a little Adam is probably a lot to take on a Friday.
Yes, good morning from the Airbnb. I would love to be at the complex right now, give everybody on the YouTube stream a little bit more of a scenic view, little sun, but unfortunately it is the rainiest, coldest morning we've had so far in spring training. I don't even know if it's 50 degrees out there right now. So we've come inside the Airbnb, and this is where I'll be for the next 4 hours.
Yeah, I can Ben-splain weather a little bit. I'm not our weathercaster at Channel 10, but oftentimes when we get bad weather here, usually follows a few hours or, a day later over in Arizona. And in this case, you're getting it today. Don't know what that exactly means for Mike Schilt and his schedule. Whether they're going to move stuff inside for workouts, whether the scheduled Cactus League game against the Milwaukee Brewers today.
Yeah,
going over Maryvale. Yep. Going over to Maryvale, if that game will be played or not. If it is, we will have it for you here on 97.3 The Fan. But that's all TBD at this point due to the wet weather. And everyone should be very careful and give yourself some extra time on the roads this morning. I saw all the images last night of flooding around San Diego and Pacific Beach. Hopefully your new place in Ocean Beach is okay, Sammy. I don't know if you're on low-lying land or not. If you had anyone check in the place that you moved into like 2 days before you went out to spring training?
Well, I've had nobody check in. Nobody even has a key to my apartment in San Diego, so it could be underwater at this point. The good news is that I'm sort of up on the cliffs or towards the cliffs of OB, so it's kind of elevated. I don't know in relation to the rest of OB how elevated it is, but it's certainly above sea level quite a bit more than, say, Newport Avenue over there in OB. So I would think it would be okay, but hey, could be underwater right now. Could have the apartment all flooded, and I wouldn't know for 3 weeks.
It's true. There's no one to let you know. Your neighbors don't know you. You're a complete unknown equation in OB so far. You spent no time there yet. So anyway, I think before we do anything else, if you missed the show yesterday, it's been a week. I mean, it's been a week, and not to say that you should feel sorry for us or anyone, but let's see, what do we have? I had my grandmother's memorial to start the week on Saturday. We had Woods' dad, his birth father, who he barely knew and had no relationship with, passed away, and he found out about it unexpectedly 30 seconds before the start of the show on what was it, Monday, which was, shocking and something that we were not expecting to deal with, and had to go through that on the air. And it's also just been a miserably tough week, not just for us here at Odyssey, but the really vast media business. So many different places, including Disney, ABC, Odyssey, radio companies, television stations have made a lot of cuts and layoffs, and we weren't exempt. If you were following along yesterday. We had to deal with the terrible news that Annie and Elston had to be let go. Felt absolutely awful for them. I know Adam did as well. It's not something that anyone here wanted to have happen. But when you work for a big corporation in media nowadays, sometimes these directives come down and, changes are unavoidable. So, Sammy, I know we're very appreciative to still have a job and be here.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Woods and Paul are not here today, it has nothing to do with that. Don't want anyone to read anything into that. Woods was scheduled off for a while today, and Paulie's just under the weather. But our best to the colleagues out there. And Adam, I don't know if you want to really say anything. I know you felt bad as well, but feel the worst for obviously Annie and Elston, who didn't do anything wrong at all. They were doing a good show, and we were enjoying it, and we wish we still had them here on our middays.
Just want to say how difficult yesterday was, but it's more so for them. The challenges we face in this business are real, as it's been seen yesterday at this company and others throughout the week. This was not a performance decision by any means. It was not about ratings or anything like that. It was something that was handed down from above. Wish them nothing but the best. Have very good things to say about them and their entire time here. So proud of all that they did. They really worked hard over the last 14 months, and we're really, really sorry to see them go.
That's the really hard part, because it takes a while to start really building that chemistry. It's not easy. I mean, for Woods and I, it was definitely a 2-year process before we really felt comfortable with totally each other. I mean, we always liked each other even from the very beginning, but there are, unseen looks and signals and stuff, and it takes a while for a radio team to get together. I honestly, in the old days, they would say, give it at least a year, if not 2, before you really find your footing as a show on the air. Things move so fast nowadays. No one gets 2 years or even necessarily a year anymore. But I definitely feel like they put in that work. They were getting, to the point where, they were starting to get that chemistry and everything. And I just felt awful about what happened yesterday. So, and I don't know the tier ones and the listeners of their show and 97.3 The Fan feel the same way. So, obviously, it's been a tough week. And, of course, I have termites as well. We discussed that earlier in the
Thoughts
week
and
as
prayers.
well. So thank you for all your kind wishes for my termite problem. And I did have some tier ones reach out with some advice, and it has been helpful. And I believe we'll either be doing some sort of tent or non-tent solution here in the next couple of weeks and making the final decision on that. But, as they say, we're going to try to move on and move forward. Obviously, we'll talk a lot of Padres baseball. Sammy's done some great work out there. We're going to get a new interview coming up with Jason Adam that Sammy was able to do at the Peoria Sports Complex. Get a little more in-depth. One of the guys, Sammy, we did not get to talk to when Woods and I were out there, but is clearly going to be a key member of the Padres bullpen this season, and a guy, in the heat of the trade deadline and the pennant race last year, didn't really get a chance to know much about Jason Adams. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to play that later this hour.
Yeah, that was sort of the point of talking to Jason yesterday, and the interview is about 10 minutes. And this time of spring, what I'd like to do is get outside with the guys and put us both on camera and make it a little bit more casual than, being inside the clubhouse. And the reason I wanted to talk to Jason was because, he came over in the trade from Tampa Bay last year. And like you said, Ben, he was terrific. And we were already in the thick of a playoff race, and the Padres were playing super well. The bullpen was great. And we just sort of knew Jason as this guy who came over in a trade from Tampa Bay after being really good there, cost a number of prospects, and then came over and he was excellent. He was dominant in that Padres bullpen after the trade from Tampa Bay last season. But I think what people will take away from the conversation I had with him yesterday is, and I don't know if people realize this, I mean, he's got really a fascinating story. I mean, was in the minor leagues for a long time, had multiple serious arm injuries and surgeries. And for a long time, I mean, it didn't look like he was going to make it to the major leagues. And then he does, and he has a freak accident in the outfield while shagging fly balls where he has an open ankle dislocation, and that sets him out for a while, and he ends up getting released again. And it was a windy road for Jason Adam to Tampa Bay, where he really became this version of himself. And then the story, because the first thing you notice about Adam, right, is how he releases the ball. He kind of puts it behind his head, and it definitely looks different than how everybody else throws. And even that story is really interesting as to how he came up with that, because it was really out of necessity. And number two, it actually happened during his first go round with the Padres organization. So he's got a fascinating story. I think an inspiring story because of what he's been through, the ups and downs in his career. And I don't know that a lot of Padres fans know that about Jason, because it was so fast and furious when he showed up last year. So good opportunity yesterday to really focus on a lot of those different things.
Yeah, we'll have that interview coming up in our 6:35 segment at the bottom of the hour. So stay tuned for that. We will set the rest of the menu for the program coming up when we return. Again, a little interesting Friday for us with Woodsy and Paulie out. Oh, I forgot about Paulie's dog being sick and at the vet ER.
Yeah.
Just what a week it has been. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting to this weekend for sure. Tier 1s, I imagine you're feeling the same, but we do appreciate you being here on Ben and Woods on a Friday morning on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back.
You know it seems to make you happy when you've heard.
Or you could, I guess, read it as unlucky. But it was a night off simply because I have so much vacation time stored up that I have not been able to use, that I need to use some days or I won't get any more vacation days. Does that happen to anybody else out there where there's like a cap on the amount of PTO, vacation time you're allowed to amass at work? And if you hit that cap, then you no longer amass anymore. And I'm like near the cap. So I thought, all right, I just need to take a day, even though I didn't really have anything going last night. So it was a fairly quiet night for me at home. Welcome back. I'm Ben Higgins. We have Woods and Paul is off. So we got Sam Levitt joining us from Peoria, Arizona. I watched some of the Lakers-Knicks game, which was one of the really great NBA games. We'll maybe do a little basketball, Ben, later in the show today. But Sammy, you were a Knicks fan, right? You were watching that game as well?
Yeah, great fourth quarter. I mean, really entertaining. And I hope Jalen Brunson is okay, first and foremost, because that was a pretty nasty ankle roll. And I'll tell you what, and, I don't mean to be kind of an LA lover here, but Ben, I know about your Laker fandom. Tell you what, Lakers look really good. Like, all of a sudden, they feel like a legitimate contender, and there's just a different vibe. The vibe in that building last night during that fourth quarter, I feel like I watch a good amount of Lakers games. I feel like I rarely feel like that place is like electric like that, and it kind of felt like that yesterday in that fourth quarter during the regular season. I mean, there's something going on there that's pretty interesting.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Sam. It has been pretty exciting. I will say, yeah, you trade for one of the three best players in all of basketball. It's going to inject a little bit of life into your organization. And not obviously every team has the capability of doing that. The Lakers honestly should not have had the capability of doing that, except for just a massively bad decision by the Dallas Mavericks. But, I will take it. And I do think they are now championship contenders. I won't say they're the favorites.
Like it.
I still think Boston's going to be the team to beat. Cleveland's the only team into the playoffs already. They're probably being overlooked. Oklahoma City is still going to be the number one seed in the West. They're far and away ahead of everybody. Lakers are up to number 2, though. We'll talk a little bit of basketball. But then, my wife was home, so we decided to put on a movie since we rarely are home on the same nights because she works and I work. And so our paths rarely cross, but we're both there. So we rented Wicked and watched one of the Academy Award nominees and winners from over the weekend. And I thought it was pretty decent. Either of you guys see Wicked? Adam says no.
I've seen it on Broadway.
So, okay, that's what I was going to ask. So I have not been to the theater in a while, but I've been to, some of the big ones when I was in my late teens. I loved Tommy at the La Jolla Playhouse when it first originated, The Who. I've seen Phantom of the Opera. I've seen The Lion King on Broadway when we went to New York, and I have seen Wicked at the San Diego at the Civic Theater when it came. I don't know, it was probably a decade ago or so when it was on. I do like the theater. I certainly respect the amount of effort and coordination that goes into putting on a live production with with the sets and the costumes and the intermoving parts, and there's no safety net. There's no cut, take 2, let's go and do this again. It's all live. This obviously was a movie, so it's a little bit different, but it was well done. But I'd seen, the songs, I knew the story and how it all worked. But it's also weird to go to the theater. Does anyone agree with me that especially musical theater and how over the top everybody, we have to sing and enunciate everything so clearly. And it's not how like musical performers, like rock singers, they sing in a completely different way. There's a specific way you sing in the theater. And you saw that in Wicked as well with Ariana Grande and the woman, I don't know her as well, who was nominated, though, who plays the Wicked Witch, Elphaba. She is fantastic, really, really good. So I thought that was kind of enjoyable, but it is always weird watching like a musical and people singing about their feelings and what's going on. So I don't know. So you've seen a couple of musicals.
I haven't seen the movie in theaters or at home, but one of the critiques I saw online about it was about the singing part of it, that there's a big difference between Broadway musical live performance type singing and movie type singing, and it's not quite the same in the movie, which would make sense because it's not a live musical. But I saw it on Broadway, I don't know, maybe like within the last 5 to 7 years, maybe a little bit farther than that. Not with the original cast, not with the Dina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, but it was great. And one day I'll see it. I'm a big Ariana Grande fan in general, musically. So
yeah, I think with a movie, they're obviously going into a recording studio and making it all perfect. But when you're on stage and the people in the back row have to be able to hear you. Yeah, you got the clip-on mics and stuff, but you have to project and you have to show your feelings in your face so they can be seen 50 rows back. There's no close-ups or anything. So yeah, it's a whole different ball game. Enough on musical theater, though. We'll get to some Padres talk coming up here, as we mentioned. Sammy's interview with Jason Adam. He's going to duck out for a couple of minutes. You got a TV hit coming up?
Yeah.
Welcome to my life.
Yes.
Who are you going on with this morning?
Fox 5.
Oh, all
yes.
Right. Say hi to Raul and the gang for me.
I don't think it's Raul. I think Raul might be off today.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I think Raul's off.
Enjoy your television hit. We'll play.
Have you or your station ever invited Sammy on?
I have invited.
Yes.
I have invited.
Yes.
Sammy
Sure.
on. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if our morning show ever has, but
I don't think the morning.
We don't do
show.
a lot of.
We don't have
on
all the San Diego TV stations. I'm open for appearances.
We don't do the old walk into the back parking lot thing that a lot of the other TV stations do in the morning.
Right.
It's just not how we set things up and have the breezy.
Have you ever seen that across the street at the station? Sometimes like they'll be set up with a camera and stuff like in the parking lot.
Outside in the parking lot. Like, I mean, and it's fine. It's a very Today Show, Good Morning America sort of thing. Hey, we're going to go out in the streets and stand here with the people. It's also incredibly fake. It's TV fake. I mean, we don't do as much of the TV fakey stuff at Channel 10. This is just, personal preference, however you like to watch your television. But we don't have a back set outside that we go to and interact with the people and the pets that come. I mean, we have a pet segment sometimes, but whoever they bring in, and hey, the chef is cooking up. We got omelets here today that we're cooking up from local restaurants. Just not how we do our morning show. But I'm glad that you get to go on with Fox in a couple of minutes, so you can watch for that during the commercial break if you like. So we'll talk Padres. They lost again yesterday. I'm trying to keep everybody from panicking and reminding everybody that spring training results don't matter. But boy, it certainly at some point gets to like, okay, yeah, when you have to say it every single day that spring training results don't matter, at what point do you start going, but do they matter a little bit if you have to say it every single day that spring training results don't matter? It would also be nice to, for a few days, go, yeah, I know they've been winning, by 11 runs every day. That doesn't really matter. But right now we have to say every day, yeah, the Padres lost again. It doesn't really matter. They actually have the most losses in all of baseball already in spring training. They're 3-10 with a tie. That's not good.
At least Jackson Merrill's hitting. He continues.
He did, and we'll talk. Eggy Rosario is interesting as well. We'll talk about that. As I said, a little basketball. Ben, UCSD, another win last night, 12 in a row. They clinched the Big West title. We will talk about that coming up in our 7 o'clock hour. Usual features like Don't Do This. We'll play Real or Fake again today with no Woods, no John Flint in the building. There's not going to be any musical trivia, so we'll play a Real or Fake game for a chance to qualify for Las Vegas. Bob Scanlan is also going to call in. He's been in Peoria calling some of the games with Jesse this week, so we'll get his firsthand takes on what he's seen at Padres spring training at 8:35. Biggest fan, last one of the week at 9 o'clock. We've got our last set of Peoria spring training tickets to give away. Qualify one more listener for our final grand prize. And we'll look ahead to the third all-time SDFC game. We've got a soccer analyst, former pro soccer player Chris Wehan is going to join us in our 9 o'clock hour to get you set for a Real Salt Lake SDFC tomorrow. So that's what's on the menu. Ben and Sammy will come back, talk some Padres, and hear from Jason Adam from Padres spring training in Peoria coming up next year on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, enjoy it this morning, early risers. It is 6:36. I'm looking out our window. Clouds are breaking. Sun is out. It is beautiful. On Monday at this time, it's going to be dark again because we're going to spring forward on Sunday. And when we do that, that means for the early people out there, you get a much darker morning. Now you get the light in the afternoon, and it'll be light into 6:30, 7 o'clock again, which is good, and especially for people like me who like to golf in the afternoon. But in the mornings, it's going to get dark again. So enjoy the sunlight this morning. You are going to lose it coming up this weekend. Ben Higgins, Sam Levitt in Arizona. He's going to pop out in just a couple of minutes here to talk to Fox, but we're going to have his interview with Jason Adam. Yesterday, Sammy, were you at the game yesterday or not?
I was at the game,
You
and
did.
Adam, if you could, there we go. Thank you, Adam. Technical things that got to go on. You're good. Yes, I was at the game yesterday in Surprise. Saw Dylan Cease pitch, and Dylan looked good. Continues to work on that two-seamer, but I thought notably, he gave up a home run yesterday, but I'm not sure that gets out on any other day. The wind was absolutely howling out yesterday. I mean, it was an incredibly, and you've seen these days, Ben, in Arizona. I mean, just an incredibly windy day. So I don't know that the leadoff home run for Simeon gets out on another day. Eggy Rosario hit a leadoff home run, so there were two leadoff home runs in each. Yeah, first pitch of the game. That one I thought was more legit. It was like 108 off the bat, but certainly once you got it up in the air yesterday, it had a chance to go. And Eggy almost had another home run. So he continues to put together a really good spring. Dylan Cease looked pretty good, and those were pretty much the highlights from yesterday. Eggy's home run and Dylan looking pretty good, I thought.
Jackson Merrill went deep as well in the fourth inning.
Yep,
his second home run in a couple of games. But again, even with the wind blowing out, Padres didn't score any other runs. The offense has definitely been well behind the pitching so far. And while the pitching of the guys I think that are going to be in the roster, the guys we're expecting to be in the starting rotation, generally that's been good. Most of the, Jeremiah Estrada had another perfect inning. I think he's been really solid looking in the pen. And if they do need him to be a closer, whether they trade Robert Suarez at some point, or even if, Robert Suarez is ineffective and they want to go in a different direction, I'm feeling more and more comfortable with the idea of Jeremiah Estrada stepping into the closer's role for the San Diego Padres at some point.
Yeah, Jeremiah's had a really good spring so far and is coming off a great year. I mean, there was that stretch where he was, as my phone falls, there was that stretch where he was absolutely dominant. So, look, I'm with you. If they ended up moving Suarez at some point, I really do feel like, and we've said this now for a while, like they would be in a pretty good position in that bullpen. And that's the one area of this team where you feel like they could afford to move somebody and fill other needs that way. I don't know the likelihood of that 3 weeks away from opening day, or if that's something that could happen at some point during the year. But it's a deep pen in between Suarez and Adam and Estrada and what Adrian Morhone did. And, some of the other names in there, Ben, I think, having a strong bullpen in 2025 is a really important part of baseball, and the Padres are set up beautifully in that sense. They really are.
A couple of the depth pieces in the pen struggled a bit yesterday. Don't know if it was wind aided, but Logan Gillespie gave up a couple of runs in a couple of innings. Ron Marinaccio got hit up pretty good, 2/3 of an inning, 3 earned runs. But again, those are strictly depth pieces. Doesn't mean they can't make the roster or be contributors, but they're definitely guys you expect to be on the El Paso shuttle back and forth, possibly, during the 2025 season. Not, you're not going to see him in the eighth inning a lot, setting up Robert Suarez or Jeremiah Estrada. They're going to be mop-up men, occasional long men, emergency relievers, or even emergency starters for a bullpen day kind of arms. So, you don't want those guys to perform well, but it's certainly, again, still fairly early in spring training to work anything up. Tirso, I think, had another hit yesterday as well.
Yep, he did.
I want to talk, maybe in our next hour, get more into the left field. Not necessarily competition. It's not a horse race. You can't just go, oh, you got a hit today, he's your new left fielder. Oh, he went 0 for 4, he's out. It's kind of more, and Adam was bringing this up before the show, the philosophy of what direction you want to go. Do you want to go veteran, more of the known commodity, or do you want to try to shoot the moon and go for the younger, less known option in like a Tirso or a Nellis with a chance that, hey, maybe he's the guy who's going to break out. You probably know what you're going to get from Jason Hayward. It's probably on the downside of his career, but it's a known commodity. I guess the range for what you expect from Tirso is a lot wider. So we'll talk about that coming up. Sammy, I'll let you go. You're going to go do your Fox hit. But
yes,
while he is gone, we're going to talk more about the bullpen. Sammy did an interview with Jason Adam, sit-down conversation at the Peoria Sports Complex, and Sammy's talk with Jason Adam for the Padres bullpen is coming up after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury.
Padres Radio Network in 97.
Traffic is sponsored by Eliminate Termite, the orange oil experts. Well, guys, the rain has moved on, but we are definitely left with flooding, wet roads, and its wake. So good idea to please plan accordingly. Give yourself extra time. We've got this vehicle that hit a puddle and spun out, one up on its top, North 805. It's partially blocking the Nobel Drive off-ramp. Also getting reports of a collision on northbound 15 past Claremont Mesa Boulevard, not showing if any lanes are blocked. Now, southbound 5 clearing an accident right before the King Freeway. It's all over the right shoulder. In Balboa Park, tow truck is helping to get an accident cleared from the slow lane, southbound 63 near the Laurel Street Bridge. Stalled car eastbound King Freeway just past Federal. That's blocking the slow lane. And we got this collision on the coastline, southbound 5 right before the 76. Vehicle facing the wrong way in the center divide. Several other vehicles all over to the right shoulder. Oh, and Winter Gardens Boulevard on-ramp to southbound 67. This vehicle spun out, wound up going off the roadway. Now it's stuck in the mud. Good morning. Tow truck is on scene helping to get that up and out of there. Have termites? Eliminate Termite inspects, treats, and repairs termite damage, all with a full structural warranty. Their orange oil treatment is safe for people, pets, and the planet. No tent, no move out. Protect your home naturally. Schedule a free inspection at eliminatetermite.com. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Sam Levitt here of the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt here of the Padres Radio Network and
trying to get
97.3 The Fan at
Jason
Padres
Adam
Spring Training in
interview
Peoria,
going, the
Arizona.
audio at least for our feed. I see Sammy and Jason Adam on our YouTube stream. I just do not
Arizona,
hear
right
them
now I'm
talking.
joined by
You had it on earlier, Adam, and I get it. This is I respect how complicated this job is. Makes you appreciate Paul Reindl just a little bit more, though, knowing how good he is every morning doing this and how complicated it is to run the board. So you just let me know when you're ready, and we will play the teased interview of Sam Levitt with Jason Adam.
Sam Levitt here of the Padres Radio Network and 97.3 The Fan at Padres Spring Training in Peoria, Jason Arizona, and right now I'm joined by Padres reliever Jason Adam. Very windy morning in Arizona. Very windy, but we found morning in Arizona. Very windy, but we found. Weather's been great. I think just a little so far in Arizona this spring. Let's start with what you just did. Bullpen session looked pretty in-depth with Ruben Yabla, Ben Fritz. This time of year, Jason, what are you looking to get out of a session like that? This time of year, Jason,
several things. I think one is just starting to like
several
things.
I
think build into a season type workload. So starting to like gradually build into a season type workload. So that's almost like an easy way to get used to going day off. Now a bullpen, so that's almost like an easy way to get used to going game day off game, or just throwing more often. But also just trying to refine. As a reliever, especially, you don't get guaranteed days in between to work on stuff. So now every pitch in that bullpen kind of matters.
When you look at last season, I mean, your time with Tampa Bay, and then after the trade to the Padres, you put together just a terrific 2024 campaign. When you reflect on it now, what was the biggest key to your success last year?
Oh man, surrounded by great people. Honestly, I think starting with Snides there in Tampa, he and Monkey and like asking younger guys questions, always looking to learn. So I think just that thirst for better and to learn more is the key.
With Ruben and Fritzy in particular, you mentioned Yu Darvish. This is a pitching staff with quite a deal of experience on it. what's been the impact of Ruben, Fritzy, and really the pitching group as a whole here in San Diego in particular, because you're a guy that's been around a lot. You've been around a lot of different pitching staffs and organizations.
Yeah, it's top tier. It is an unbelievable pitching staff from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like Ruben says, obviously it stems from him down. And he's so detail oriented, but he knows his guys well. And Fritzy, he knows us down there in the bullpen so well. Knows what each guy's needs. Like everyone has a different personality, has different things they need to work on, and they just have us locked in, and they make our job way easier.
You mentioned refining things. For you in particular, you're a veteran arm at this point. What area of growth are you looking to take a step forward in this season in particular?
Yeah, I think obviously you want to just stack. You want to stack. You want to get better and better. So I think for me, we're continuing to get more and more consistent with each pitch. Also, better execution of like 2-strike pitches. It doesn't have to always be like, I don't have to, if you throw an 0-2 fastball at the top, if you look at my film last year, it's a lot of wasted fastballs, not even close, which still can serve a purpose. But I think just refining that, getting to know the zone better, and commanding my pitches, just getting ahead of hitters and trying to put them away.
As far as your pitch mix, obviously you throw the fastball, the changeup has been really effective. The slider, sweeper, I'm not sure how you classify it at this point in your career.
Yeah.
What do you feel like last year really worked from the off-speed pitch perspective?
Yeah, I think part of what worked is the unpredictability of it. So I have the harder slider and the sweeper.
Yeah.
So just being able to play those off each other, executing the changeup. When I'm executing the changeup, pitching becomes that takes care of a lot of things. It makes all the other pitches better. But I think how the pitches play off each other is huge, and just establishing early good strikes, and that's probably top for me.
Jason, your story, I mean, it has so many different twists and turns. You arrive in San Diego last year as this guy from Tampa Bay who already was doing great things, and then you do what you did last year in a Padres uniform. You were dominant late last season, but the really fascinating thing about you is that, I mean, your story, there were serious arm injuries, serious leg injuries, multiple organizations, time in the minor leagues. How would you sum up your journey to this particular point? Because it's it was windy, but also incredibly inspiring too.
Yeah, no, it was. There were some hard days in there, especially like you mentioned, the 2.5, almost 3 years out with the elbow, and then just some fluke injuries, the open ankle dislocation, and just felt like I couldn't catch on and have sustained success. I feel like it took me forever just to break into the big leagues. And then once I got there, a lot of up and down. Not because of service time. I mean, it was because I was bad. Like I'd show flashes of good, and then I'd be bad. And I just couldn't put it together. But I always felt in the heart, like every time I got released, every time I got DFA'd, whatever, injured, I would just pray about it. Be like, am I still supposed to be playing? And if the answer seemed like yes, I'd just keep pushing on. And I was thankful I had a supportive wife, supportive family, people that stuck alongside me, and just they're like, hey, if you believe in you, and then I believe in you, and they kind of held me together through it all.
From a mentality standpoint, how do you think that's influenced you today as a veteran reliever in a bullpen? Like just going through all you went through with the injuries and all the different twists and turns.
It changed my perspective completely. I went from basically the belief that like if I just work hard, I'll get whatever I want. Because when I was a kid, that's kind of how it worked, which is a good thing. Working hard is good, and it's going to put you in a good place, but not always. There's plenty of hard workers that never made the big leagues. So now I get to approach it with more of like a child, like I'm playing a kid's game. It's like every day I get to put on a uniform and get to go, even just practice. It's a blessing. And it's become a lot more fun. I'm out there because we play baseball, we don't work baseball. So there's work to be done to have success, but ultimately when I'm out there on the field, it's a game. I'm playing. I'm trying to be loose with it, have fun, and just not take any day for granted, because you're one fluke thing away from never getting to play again. So you never know when it'll be taken from you. So trying to have that attitude, just, hey, I have today, I have right now, and it's a blast, and I'm going to do it as long as I can.
And I'll echo that. I mean, I see that on your face when you're in the clubhouse, when you're on the field. You're from what I've seen, the last half a season in spring training,
Yeah.
always in a good mood, willing to talk, and very friendly. So I think that really comes off. Last thing for you, the first thing I feel like you notice beyond the numbers with your pitching style is this delivery where the ball goes kind of behind the back of your head. And what I find interesting about that is that it's something you actually developed, and correct me if I'm wrong, while you were first with the Padres system the first time around. So can you explain that process? Because it was something, if I understand correctly, that was kind of out of necessity because of the injuries.
Yes. Yeah. So I was on year 3 of rehab for my elbow injury, and I just couldn't, like, every time we thought it was okay, we'd start throwing and it would hurt again. And I knew, I wasn't so naive to not know the reality of the sport. I knew I was like, I'm probably like on the fence of getting released here. So I just went to Garvin was our rehab pitching coach at the time. I was like, hey, can I just try something out? And he's like, brother, like, yeah, do whatever you want. And so I put the ball by my ear, and then I just stepped and I threw, and I was like, hey, that didn't hurt.
Wow.
So then I just kind of I just kept I'd go a little further. I went to 60 feet. I was like, put it by my ear and threw. Didn't hurt. And eventually I was long tossing, just holding the ball, touching my ear. So when I got to bullpens, I was like, I just came here. I was like, I guess just come sit right here.
Wow.
And and it just happened to work. And I think it actually worked in my favor. I think my stuff got a little better. There was some deception added. So that was like something that worked for good unintentionally when I was just trying to find a way to throw without pain.
Absolutely fascinating, and changed the trajectory of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I did that. I got healthy, got released, understandably, and then ended up, so that was in late August, and then I ended up debuting the following May, and started the up and down journey.
Well, Jason, great to have you here in San Diego. You certainly did a wonderful job after the trade last year. Exciting to have you a part of the Padres bullpen again in 2025, and best of luck with everything this season. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Love San Diego.
A terrific interview, Sam Levitt with Padres reliever Jason Adam. At least I'm assuming it was terrific. I didn't really get to listen to much of it as we were dealing with some technical issues. Adam was struggling over there a little bit. I think we figured it out. You ended up having to watch a gray screen during the interview if you were on our YouTube stream, because the audio was first there was no audio, then it was echoing and doubling. Adam, good job getting it on. I was a little unsure for a second, and then he left and got coffee. He had time to send me a tweet about Tom Pelissero about Myles Garrett in the middle of all that. What are you doing over there, Adam?
I was getting my coffees, waiting for it to fill up, and I figured you would like that. But look, roast me all you like. I've done this a million times. I know how to do it, and the option to share the video was not there as I was trying to load it.
Joel,
bring it on.
Joel in the chat slayed me. He said, "Did we just slay the dragon again?" Sammy, welcome back. How was your interview with Fox 5?
Oh, it's great time.
Fantastic.
All of San Diego saw my Airbnb kitchen on TV.
I've got phenomenal news. 1 hour down. Only 3 more to go on a Friday. It's Ben and Woods with Sam Levitt on San Diego's #1 sports station. A little basketball, Ben, when we come back on 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 2, Ben and Woods on a Friday. Again, no Woods on his way to a family vacation weekend in Las Vegas. No Paul Reindl. He is under the weather, and he is legitimately under the weather. Full disclosure, Paulie texted me yesterday afternoon after he got home. He said, I thought maybe I'd start feeling better after, getting a little bit of rest. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. And he goes, I'm going the wrong direction. I'm feeling worse. Before I text Adam, is there a possibility you'd also like to get sick tomorrow and we just take the entire show off? Because he said, it's going to be tough to pull this off without me or Woods there. And I said, no, I know there's going to be some hiccups, but I want to be there for the tier ones. It's been a week. I think we should be here, be appreciating that we actually have the opportunity to be on the air. We have had some hiccups in the first hour, no doubt about it. A couple technical difficulties. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, Adam. Kyle, bless you, in our chat, says you guys are all doing your best. That's the last refuge of the polite person, isn't it? When you can't think of anything else nice to say, then you say, I know you guys are doing your best. And your best just isn't very good, obviously, right now. But we are trying. Adam is trying. We have Sam Levitt. I don't think he's actually done anything wrong at all. His equipment's working. He looks good in Peoria, Arizona. Sammy, thank you for being with us. Yeah,
great to be here. I didn't hear any of the technical difficulties, but I have, and somebody pointed it out in the YouTube chat, I have this vision of Woods in the car just yelling at his radio, hearing whatever what was going on.
Oh,
during,
we're all
segment.
We're all praying that he's not listening right now. Adam, how glad are you that it's me sitting here and not Woods this morning? Just be honest.
On a scale from 1 to 10?
Yeah.
12.
12. I thought so. I'm being gentle. I'm trying to be gentle.
But I appreciate you bringing it back up this segment because that was definitely necessary.
We will move on and things will hopefully get a little bit smoother as we go forward. But as Woods has taught me, and this is absolutely something that he has taught me, sometimes the mistakes are the good parts. I used to plow through them. I sometimes still do, but Woods will always stop down whenever there's a mistake, lean into it, and admit, guess what? Just like everybody else out there, we're not perfect. We're going to make a bunch of mistakes as well. You can either ignore them or you can celebrate them. And that's Woods' philosophy. Sammy, hey, let's celebrate some of the mistakes that we're inevitably going to make because nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect, and I've learned that too over the course of my time in the business. When I first started, literally every time I would make a mistake during a game, I would get so angry, I would pound the desk. Like literally during the game, you used to be able to hear it on the air. I remember Cape Cod League, and I think we're going to do something on this a little bit later with teams I work for. But I used to get so mad that I used to flub a word, and I used to literally go, and you could hear it in the background of how angry I would get. So now I flub words all
as someone
the time.
who's had to live through segments of Ben's flubs now, that at the end of shows, at the end of weeks, Sammy's flubs at the end of every Cape Cod League baseball broadcast. See, that would have been funny. That would have been enjoyable. But yeah, actually, we are going to talk a little bit about that. I'll save that for Real or Fake a little bit later this morning. I want to jump into basketball. Another tough thing about this job in particular is if you are doing it right, you have to have a certain degree of fearlessness and honesty, and you have to be willing to know that the people you cover, athletes, coaches, aren't always going to like what you have to say. And last night at the Lakers-Knicks game, there was a viral moment. I don't know if you saw it, Sammy, on the internet, where LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, who was at the game and was standing there courtside, LeBron confronted him angrily. And, I don't know how much is going to come out about what was actually said between the two. It seemed like, according to the lip reading crowd, LeBron was kind of leave my son out of that. I would assume some sort of comments about Bronny and, nepotism and just being in the NBA and not being ready for it. I don't know exactly what Stephen A has been saying, but it looked like a fairly tense moment on the sideline where, it didn't look like it was ever going to come to blows, but I would imagine, Stephen stood there, listened to him and respect to him. LeBron, is an intimidating guy. Obviously, he's he's 6'10" of just filled of muscle. Stephen's a much smaller guy, but he stood there, listened to what LeBron had to say, and I respect Stephen A. Smith. But you are going to say things that not every athlete, not every person, not every coach, GM is going to agree with in this job. And you have to be willing to, I think, then listen to what they have to say back. If you're going to be fair, you have to listen to what they're going to say back.
Yeah, I think with Stephen A., one of the unique parts with him is that, and I don't know if I'm crazy saying this, but he's almost as big of a name and a star as the athletes are, which is super, super rare. And he does make himself available. Like Stephen A. will go to these games, and I'm sure that's part of the reason he was sitting there, because he knew that LeBron was not happy and he wanted to be there. And if LeBron wanted to say something to him, he was available to do it. And obviously they had what looked like a tense conversation. So, Stephen A. is kind of unique in the stratosphere he's in right now, and kind of what he can do and what he can say. But you're going to say things that don't always make people happy. And, I think making yourself available is important, which Stephen A. obviously did. There's a lot of that going on right now. Like, I don't know if you saw last night what Charles Barkley said about Kendrick Perkins. And with the NBA these days, there's just constant chatter about, who's good for the game, what's good for the game, who's ruined this, who's ruined that, who's better than this, what era is better than that. And it's kind of exhausting, the constant back and forth of retired players and media wars and all of it. We continue.
Well, whether or not you're a Lakers fan or a Knicks fan, it was an event last night, one of the biggest, I think, in the NBA this season. Spike Lee made it all the way out. You have the stars in Los Angeles out, and the game lived up to the hype. It was fantastic. The Lakers rallied from 10 down in the fourth quarter, forced overtime. Josh Hart had a basket to win it. He made the basket to win it, except didn't get it off in time on a finger roll in the lane. It came about half a second too late. Then in overtime, Jalen Brunson got hurt and landed on Austin Reeves' foot, and gamely sank the 2 free throws, but then had to limp to the locker room as the Lakers pulled it out. Luka and LeBron were both fantastic. I mean, it was good NBA drama. I know we're not, we don't have a huge NBA audience here, but it was fun sports last night to watch. And as a Lakers fan, I'm obviously more interested than most, but I think anybody would have enjoyed the entertainment value of last night's game. It was one of the best ones I have seen in basketball this year. And then tomorrow, Lakers hit the road. They play the Celtics. So, get the final big boss, at least here in the regular season, to see just how far LeBron and Luka have progressed in their, 2 or 3 weeks together as teammates when they face the defending champs and, presumably favorites going into the postseason here in another month or so when they start the NBA playoffs. College basketball, though, I want to bring it back locally. Congratulations again last night to the UCSD Tritons, won their 12th straight game. It was a little closer than maybe you thought. It's the first time they haven't actually beaten the spread in their 12-game winning streak, but they did hold on to beat Long Beach State 70-63 on senior night at Lion Tree Arena. And with the win, the Tritons clinched at least the share of a Big West title for the first time in school history. They're 17-2 in the conference. Tyler McGuy and Aniwa Tate-Jones both had 20 points last night. They were honored. Aniwa Tate-Jones in particular, like his whole family from New Zealand came out, and they're staying out for the Big West tournament next week and the NCAA tournament as well. This is a fun group. I know they don't get the kind of attention that San Diego State or other D1 programs get, but it's one of the best stories, I think, in college basketball this year is what UCSD has done in their first year of D1 eligibility. They are officially 2 wins away from the NCAA tournament. They need to win in the semifinals of the Big West tournament next week, Sammy, and then probably a rematch against Irvine, the other best team in the conference in the final, with the winner getting that automatic bid. It's fun March stuff here for college basketball fans.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. I mean, conference tournament time and good for UCSD. What year did they make the transition to D1? Because that's not that long ago.
So there's essentially a 4-year waiting period. They were D2 5 years ago. Then you have to play 4 seasons kind of like on probation where you're not allowed to play in the Big West or the NCAA tournament. Even if you were the best team, they wouldn't let you. And then this is the first year where they're off their kind of transition period and can actually be eligible for the NCAA tournament. Good timing for Eric Olin's team. I invited Eric on. They have a flight. They're going up to Davis for their final regular season game, so they were actually hopping on a flight. But hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him next week, either at the Big West tournament in Vegas or, after Selection Sunday. They get their name called. I've seen them up to number 11 in some bracketology now, which is the same as San Diego State. They're right there, potentially even as an at-large selection possibility. If you're San Diego State, you're cheering for UCSD, because if they lose and then get an at-large bid, you're now competing against them. Now, San Diego State has that head-to-head win in the first game of the year at Viejas Arena that, might give them the edge, but that was a long time ago. And since then, UCSD has only gotten better and better and better. San Diego State has kind of had their starts and stops over the course of the season. And of course, the Aztecs have a huge, almost must-win game tomorrow if they want at least a chance at an at-large bid. Got to beat Nevada senior night at Viejas Arena tomorrow. That'll be a big one. They always seem to bounce back from losses with wins, especially at home. It's some crazy stat like 39-4 or something in their last 43 games after losses. Got to do it again. And then they'll go and see what they can do in the Mountain West tournament next week. Either bolster their resume with a couple of wins or claim the automatic bid by winning all 3 games and, just making sure that you're into the field of 68 next Sunday. But I love March. March Madness, I think, is not the best way to determine the best team. There's too much randomness when you have a 68 single elimination, team tournament. You're going to have so many upsets. Like when San Diego State made the Final Four, they were a 5 seed. You had Florida Atlantic was like a 9 seed. I mean, UConn was a 5 seed. You're not going to necessarily get the best teams, but you're going to get the most drama in a tournament format like that. And I always love March Madness.
Yeah, I love it too. And look, I think the UCSD part of it, they would do themselves a favor by winning the conference tournament and getting the automatic bid, not leaving it up to the committee, because it would be a real shame for them to have the season they've had without an NCAA tournament appearance. And it's a weird part of this time of year, especially for the smaller conferences where it often happens where you have teams that dominate the regular season, easily win a regular season conference tournament, regular season conference championship, and then get to the tournament and crazy stuff happens because it's March and it's single elimination and you have to play a bunch of games in consecutive days. So I'm rooting for UCSD. I hope they can kind of put the cherry on top on what's been a terrific season for them.
All right, good basketball talk. We got Don't Do This coming up next. I believe we had this story a few months ago. We got an update, though. The former Olympian, who is now the subject of a $10 million reward on the FBI's most wanted list, is going to kick off our DDT segment coming up next with Ben and Sammy. First, though, I want to tell you about SDFatLoss.com as we head into the weekend here. And hopefully the weather gets a little bit nice. It's going to. Spring is here, so it's going to start warming up. It's going to be nice. You're going to be outside more. Wouldn't it be great to feel good about your body, how you look, have a lot of energy to go out and do the activities that you love doing outside? Well, you can do it. You can lose weight fast. Long before summer even arrives, you can get 10 to 20% of your body weight off by following the simple strategies of the SDFatLoss.com program. I did it in 2023. I lost 40 pounds in 60 days, and that is not atypical. You can expect to lose up to a pound of fat per day for those 2 months while you're following the program, and it doesn't require any exercise. They are not giving you any injections, and you don't have to buy any shakes or bars or mixes. That's not what it's based on. You're eating real food. Stuff like steak and chicken is what I pretty much lived on, and it was fine. You don't want to do it forever, but it worked for 2 months. You lost the weight, and it's so much easier to keep it off. It really does change. Your body gets used to it. It adjusts, and I have adjusted. I've kept the weight off every single pound now for a year and a half. Find out how it can work for you. Get your free consultation by going to SDFatLoss.com. Take advantage now in the spring March special. Still $200 off. Little added incentive to go to SDFatLoss.com Schedule your free consultation now at sdfatloss.com. We'll be right back.
sometimes does fall from the tree.
Don't do this
Do not tweet that.
with Ben and Woods
I like a Nickelback song or two.
on 97.3 The Fan.
DDT is brought to you by Trust and Will. Don't leave your entire estate, house, kids, and life savings up to chance if and when you die. Do set up a trust or will online at trustandwill.com. This is a lot more affordable than you think. Visit trustandwill.com for more info. Did I do that right, Adam? That was his suggestion that I added the this at the end. So we had the don't, do, and this all in the sponsor read. Happy with me? He doesn't look happy.
Real.
Doesn't look that happy with me at the moment. All right, let's get to it. And this is a story I believe we talked about a few months ago in Don't Do This, but it has taken not a surprise turn, but it has gone to the next level. The FBI has announced, Sammy Levitt, a $10 million reward for information leading to the arrest of former Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding. The 43-year-old Canadian is wanted for allegedly running a multinational drug trafficking network and orchestrating multiple murders related to the drug ring. He is a crime lord. He is a drug kingpin that used to be an Olympic snowboarding star from Canada, which is weird. He's got aliases out there. El Jefe, Public Enemy, James Conrad King is also a name he goes by. Keep an eye out. I mean, he could be in Peoria, Arizona right now. Maybe we should get the mugshot up so everyone, all the tier ones can. What would you actually do, though? I mean, if I saw like a guy who's clearly wanted for multiple murders, I would not want him to see me like dialing up the FBI if I like right away. So, you have to be very careful with $10 million rewards, I think.
So they don't know where he is
No.
at all.
Well, yeah, obviously, if they knew where he was, they would arrest him. But he is on the lam. He is.
Wow, that's quite a
He's on the
turn
run.
from,
He's out there. He is.
But you said gold medalist.
He was
or just Olympian.
He was an Olympian. I don't think he won a gold medal.
Quite a turn from Olympian snowboarder to kingpin.
I mean, he probably wasn't making a ton of money. Finished 24th at the 2002 Olympic Games. So probably wasn't paying the bills, and he turned to a life of crime. And now he is wanted all over the world. Ryan Wedding, 10 most wanted.
Wow.
There's that. There you go.
Crazy. Right. Don't run drug organizations.
I thought Canadian people were all supposed to be so nice. Yeah, I guess not. I mean, if you don't want to be on the FBI's most wanted list.
Wow.
All right.
But he's on the American FBI. Is that the Canadian
he's like
FBI
worldwide. This is our FBI.
Worldwide FBI.
The State Department has a $10 million. Maybe they think he's potentially here. I mean, the drugs obviously flowed into the United States here in Southern California. Right. So, just because you're Canadian doesn't mean you're not wanted other places and commit crimes in other places. But, the U.S. authorities allege his group killed 2 members of a family in Canada in retaliation for a stolen drug shipment in what officials there say was a case of mistaken identity, as well as 2 other people. So that's bad. You're killing the wrong people. Definitely not a good scene. Let's see. Story number 2. Got this audio. It's actually from a couple of days ago. Kevin Durant is an absolute, one of the probably 10 to 15 best NBA players of all time. I think he's a thoughtful guy, and I oftentimes feel for him because he wasn't built to be in the NBA spotlight. He just wasn't. I think he would have been happier living a more anonymous lifestyle, but you don't get to do that when you're making millions of dollars to play basketball on television every night. So a couple of nights ago, the Suns were playing the Clippers. Suns were down like 20. And the Phoenix crowd, it's been a miserable season. They're 4 or 5 games under 500. They started booing, and KD didn't like that. Now, they came back and won that game, but here's what Kevin Durant had to say afterwards. Kind of rubbed me and I think some of the fans the wrong way.
Yeah, I always wonder what booing is going to do for your team. Like, it actually makes no sense. If you really wanted to make your voice be heard, just get up and lead, and we'll feel that more than you booing. So we need energy. You know what I'm saying? When we down 20, we need y'all to get a little louder in there and cheer a little louder. And that was my thing once I started talking to the crowd. It's just like, yeah, booing has been a part of sports culture for the last 50, 60 years. But I think it's about time we put that up. You know what I'm saying? Just get up and leave if you don't feel like watching this team play. It's bad basketball. And we will understand. And that would make us feel even worse, you know, seeing y'all getting up and leaving. But the energy that they show, how loud they get on a good night, I mean, it's second to none. So I wanted to ignite that as much as possible.
All right, so Kevin Durant, Sammy, thinks that booing should not be a part of going to at least a professional sporting event. Your thoughts first on KD's opinion.
I think when fans pay good money to go to a game, I think booing is fair, allowed, part of the deal. Even if players don't like it, it's one of the only ways fans can express their opinions and thoughts on what's going on with the team. So I understand why players don't like it, but I am generally always fine with
I think what KD is missing is not part of the sports culture. It's part of human nature. You spent God knows how much money, even to go to a Suns game, probably hundreds of dollars after, 4 tickets, popcorn, soda, hot dog, beers, and your team is just stinking it up on the court and down 20 points. It's just human nature. You're gonna express your displeasure. Why can't Kevin Durant be motivated by the booing just as much? He said he wanted people to leave. That's the last thing the Suns want, is people just walking out of the arena. So I'm sure they aren't exactly happy to hear about that. But ultimately, if you're going to be and go into professional sports, you have to have a thicker skin. And Kevin Durant, unfortunately, is one of the most rabbit-eared, thin-skinned superstars that we have really had in my lifetime. And again, I think it's just kind of part of who he is, and he's just been unable to really adapt to what it takes to be in the spotlight. Great guy, again, smart guy, thoughtful guy. Was not built for this sort of lifestyle, though. Just from the whole Golden State thing, and his entire career has just been kind of one awkward misstep after another. Off the court, on the court, obviously great player.
Yeah, I've kind of soured on KD the last handful of years. I didn't. I wasn't mad about the Golden State thing. I understood why fans hated it, right? Because you don't want, a guy who's competing against the team of that caliber to then join up. It feels wrong. It feels anti-competition. But KD, in the last handful of years, goes to Brooklyn, asks out of Brooklyn, and finds his way to Phoenix. Now looks like maybe he's going to get out of there. It just always seems to be not KD's fault, even though he's the best player on a lot of these teams.
And we've talked to Manny about this, when the Padres are struggling and fans at Petco Park are booing. He says, "Yeah, let us have it. If we're not playing well, let us have it." It's not, if you're booing as a fan, it doesn't mean you don't like your team, you hate your team. It's just an emotional reaction to what's going on in front of you at the moment. It doesn't make you hypocritical if your team then comes back and you start cheering them. That's good. That's great.
And battling the fans in the media is typically a losing battle. You are never going to win that battle. It's typically not the great thing to do.
And then finally, since I'm a little basketball obsessed, or a little do this.
DD mega doo-doo.
We were talking about that Lakers game. In that second half, with all the excitement going on, they did their half-court contest, and they brought out a fan shooting a half-court shot for $100,000. And Michael Ball, Lakers fan, sank that thing in front of everybody at Crypto.com Arena, banked it in to win $100,000. And what I really enjoyed is that the video started making its rounds, and he's on Twitter. So I saw his tweet. He goes, I did a thing. He quote tweeted it and had the video circulating around. But those are always good moments. I never get tired of the $100,000 or $50,000 or win your tuition for a year shot at a college basketball game. I think it is one of the most compelling timeout content you can do at a basketball game.
Did you see the recent one where the guy did the full court golf?
Oh, all the way into the little tiny
hole in the board? Yeah. Wow.
I still think those kind of competitions are the best content during a timeout at a basketball game. I wish they'd do more in baseball. They don't ever do that in baseball, where a guy can come out onto the field in between innings and, like, I don't know what you could do. You could have like a target. He's out in center field and have a target at home plate, and if he like throws it or third base, whatever, he throws it right in the bucket.
Do the Tom Omansky drill with the trash can.
Yeah, right in the trash can, and if he throws it in, he wins $50,000 or something. I would like that content at a baseball game if they would do that.
Now, of course, every once in a while, somebody makes one of these shots or one of these putts, and then you find out there's some sort of insurance.
No, we had last week. He stepped over the line, and they took away his money because he stepped over the line. It's true. And that's Don't and Do this for a Friday. Don't have the close, Adam. That's okay. When we come back, Sammy, I want to talk. Actually, Adam brought this up. What direction do you want to see the Padres go in left field? And I'm not talking about necessarily pick your specific guy, but are you going with the known veteran quantity, or would you rather see the Padres take a flyer on a more unknown, like a Tirso Ornelas type or an Eggy Rosario, and see if, shoot the moon and go for the big-time results out in left field, or are you better with the safer option this season? We can get to that coming up with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. in January at fantasy camp, Sammy, and we were talking about what baseball could possibly do as a contest, and you probably see it more in the minor leagues because they do more promotions, but he suggested a pop fly contest in between innings to win a prize. It is, those high pop flies are much harder to catch than I think people realize, especially when you're just going out there cold to try to catch one in the outfield. Pointed out that the Braves, Adams Braves, do they beat the freeze, the guy in the tracksuit, the spandex tracksuit, who then gives everybody a head start and runs along the warning track in the outfield. And I think if you beat him, you win some sort of prize. But I love the between inning entertainment if you can get it, especially if it's like there's a prize on the line. I find that very compelling.
It's great content. You're right. In the minor leagues, we would have really, really wacky stuff. We would have, I forget what they were called. We would have these big inflatable balls that people would go in.
Like the joust balls where you fight against each other from inside the balls.
Yes. Yeah. And then in center field, people would run into each other in those. There was a lot of other wacky stuff. I will say, the pop fly thing is a good idea because that's a lot harder than it looks.
And it has drama built in because when it's in the air, obviously, and the guy's circling around, everyone's starting to, it's entertaining to watch someone fall also on their butt. And it's hard, yeah.
And it's hard. It's really, really hard when the ball's all the way up in the air. So, that stuff's always cool. You can sign me up for any in-between inning entertainment. I'm always for it. I will say I wish they would do this on MLB TV. Like when I do have to watch the games on there, they always go to commercial. One of the nice things about NBA League Pass is they keep it on the arena feed. So you always see everything going on inside the arena during the commercial breaks, and you get a real feel for some of the timeout stuff and games and contests and things like that. So love that stuff.
That is Sam Levitt. He is filling in today. Woodsy's off. Paulie's sick, but Sam is going to be here for most of the rest of the show. I believe we're also going to have Bob Scanlan joining us. He's been in Peoria. You and Bob are going to be calling the prospect game. What do they call it? The spring breakout game next Friday here on 97.3 The Fan. Sammy, looking forward to that. Last year it got rained out. Hopefully it will not be rained out this year, but that'll be fun to work with Scan for a game here on our airwaves.
Yeah, hopefully much better weather than what we have today, because today is much like what it was that day last year when they had the spring breakout game. But it's going to be fun. I mean, I think you look at the list of pitchers that are scheduled to I don't know who's going to throw, because it might end up depending on their throwing schedule for that day in particular. But you just look at the roster. I mean, Cash Mayfield, Boston Bateman, 2 top picks from last year's draft. Obviously, we've seen Braden Nett, Isaiah Lowe, another guy that they're high on. Some other guys in that mix. We've seen Ethan Salas, but Lamar King Jr., another catcher that was drafted last year. You've got Cobb Hightower, highly touted infield prospect. A number of other guys as well. Kavaris Tears, who was a pretty high pick last year, really good player at Tennessee. So a lot of guys that we'll see that we haven't seen in Cactus League games, and should be fun to call that game a week from today here on 97.3 The Fan. Yes.
So, Sam, I wanted to talk more about the Padres left field situation, and we've been updating all the different guys who've been getting shots out there, and how they've been doing. But again, you also can't simply go on spring training results. I think there's a bigger picture conversation to be had as to what direction you want to see the Padres go. Not specific person, but direction. Do you want them to go with the more established big leaguer with probably lower ceiling at this point? Let's be honest. Jason Hayward's not about to have a career year at the age of, what is he now, 34?
35,
35, probably not going to have a career year. Connor Joe is a little bit more of a known commodity and a little bit younger, but you kind of know what you're getting with those guys, and it should probably be decent, but not fantastic. Or you can go with the lesser known commodity, an Eggy Rosario, a Tirso Ornelas. Oscar Gonzalez is a bit of a a mix. He had some major league experience and then dropped off the map with Cleveland after that really great 2022 season that he had. I mean, looking at the numbers, Tirso continues to have probably the best spring of just about anybody. He's got 9 hits and 22 at-bats, home run, 4 walks, 409 average, 500 on base percentage, a 1227 OPS. If you're just looking for the guy who's the hottest, you will say Tirso Ornelas. Yeah, it's your job to win. But when you do that, you are also risking, a rookie season, a guy who is unproven at this level that could go through massive slumps. Jackson Merrill didn't, but most guys do. Are you willing to kind of go through those ups and downs, the trials and tribulations of the young guy with the hopes that, and he's not going to hit 409, but what if he does put up big time OPS numbers that Jason Hayward's probably not going to? Is that worth the experiment of Tirso Ornelas in left field?
Well, I also think you have to consider that with the younger players, if they're not starting, what are you asking them to do if they are on a major league roster, right? Let's say an Eggy Rosario makes this team, or Tirso Ornelas makes this team. Eggy's been in a situation in the major leagues where he has come off the bench before, but Tirso is a guy who's used to playing every day. So is that the situation with a guy like that you want him in a bench role where he might start once a week and he's not really going to play? I would almost rather a guy like Tirso be down at AAA getting regular at bats, and then when you in all likelihood need him, he's ready to come up and help you. Look, I would be totally fine if the Padres looked at this and said, we want to go young as far as a starting spot in left field. Give a guy an opportunity, whether that's an Eggy, whether that's a Tirso, to play every day and see what they can do. Jason Hayward at least has, experience coming off the bench. I agree with you totally about the ceiling part of it because we don't know. I don't know what the ceiling is for Eggy Rosario if he gets more regular at bats. I don't know what the ceiling is for Tirso Ornelas when he finally gets the major league opportunity. I think more of what Jason Hayward is probably going to be at this age. So, if you would have asked me a few weeks ago, Ben, when we got here, I would have said, let's see what Jason Hayward's got, right? Let's see what he's got on a more everyday basis, and kind of see what he's got left in the tank. But as we go along here and as guys continue to impress like Tirso and Eggy, I'll be honest, I kind of lean almost the other way now of, maybe it makes more sense for Hayward to be that bench guy and give a guy like a Tirso or an Eggy, an opportunity, or somebody else could be another name that's been in the mix, an opportunity to, play more so every day and see what they can do.
So my mind is really split on this, and I'll explain. I'll explain exactly why. There's the fan part of my brain, and then there's the part of my brain that thinks maybe a little more like AJ Preller, and I will get to that after a quick check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Eliminite Termite, the orange oil experts. Well, from the looks of our roads this time around, maybe a lot of folks decided to work from home today. The rain's moved on, but we've got some very wet roadways and some flooding around the county. And we had numerous spinouts. Right now, I've just got a few things to mention. Okay, northbound side of the 5B4 Plaza Boulevard. Collision blocking the 2 left lanes in the North County, northbound 15, just before Felicita. Stalled vehicle kind of between the HOV and fast lane. And westbound 56 at the southbound 5 connector ramp. We're getting reports of a stalled vehicle. Yeah, continue to take it extra carefully, especially on those transition ramps. Have those headlights on so you're more visible to other drivers. Have termites? Eliminite Termite inspects, treats, and repairs termite damage, all with a full structural warranty. Their orange oil treatment is safe for people, pets, and the planet. No tent, no move out. Protect your home naturally. Schedule a free inspection at eliminatetermite.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Sam Levitt in Peoria, Arizona, and we're talking about the Padres left field situation. So I think the fan side of me, and there's a Padres fan still in there, even after all these years in the media. I grew up as a Padres fan. I understand the perspective. And I think the fan part of me says, I want to see the young guy. I want to see the potentially guy, Tirso Ornelas hit 20-something home runs in the minor leagues last year. Again, AAA, good hitters league. but he started out really hot here in spring training. Signs of carrying that over. I like the idea of the guy who could be an instant offensive force. I mean, Jackson Merrill did it last year. The Padres have shown the ability to foster a rookie in the outfield to have a really good type season. We saw Tirso Ornelas already appearing. I think it was 6th in the National League Rookie of the Year odds this week from Bovada. That, to me, could be a huge injection that we weren't even expecting for the San Diego Padres. And by the way, the Padres should be taking a look at some of their younger players as well. The future of the team. Give these guys some opportunities, a chance to really shine. You don't have to put too much pressure. He can hit, 7th, 8th in the order. No problem with the rest of this lineup of veterans. You could put a Tirso Ornelas out in left field or an Eggy Rosario if he's the guy and go with the potential breakout performer. And that, to me, at least from a fan perspective, I'm actually more excited than that than the Jason Hayward, Connor Joe. Yeah, okay, solid big league guys, but unspectacular. Solid defense from Jason Hayward, but getting older. For me, the excitement comes with the young players and the promise and the potential that they bring to the table. However,
I think the interesting thing, and this might be what you're going to say, is that AJ, I feel like tends to err on the side of the more known, option veteran type. But I'll let you continue with your however.
I'm wearing my however shirt. I had to take my sweatshirt off today because the however shirt that I got at our Christmas, our extravaganza, is very appropriate here. So I just decided, like Superman tearing off Clark Kent, I've got my however shirt. Because I think, however, if you think like AJ Preller, you have a fairly known roster, what you've got between Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts. You've got the veterans out there, that it's probably smarter to augment that with another known commodity. Yeah, the ceiling is probably higher right now on Tirso, but the floor is a lot higher for Jason Hayward. Yeah, maybe he completely has nothing left in the tank, and that's certainly a risk, but you know what you're getting, a veteran presence, a guy who plays solid defense. He's not going to make a ton of mistakes. Is he going to hit 300? Absolutely not. Is he going to hit 40 bomb? No chance. That's not going to happen. But you know what you're getting with Jason Hayward. Connor Joe is going to give you some good at-bats, whether it's in left field or first base as a DH. He's going to draw some walks. He's going to work the count. He's got a good eye. Is it sexy? No, it's not sexy, but it is something that a team like the San Diego Padres does need, and maybe the boring choice is the right choice here for the San Diego Padres.
I also think, for as good as Tirso has been this spring and for as good as Eggy has been this spring, I think you do have to remember that there have been opportunities for the Padres to get those guys in the mix and more involved and more regular at-bats in the major leagues. They've not done it, right? I mean, let's not forget Tirso last year. There was a period of time where it looked like certainly he was going to get called up and make his major league debut and maybe have the ability to get some regular at bats, and they decided not to do it. So, I don't want to read too far. Spring training is spring training, right? And you don't want to go either way with it. You don't want to overreact to the bad. You don't want to overreact to the good. I sometimes have wondered, despite Tirso having a great spring so far, how the Padres actually view him, and if they really view him as somebody who could, on opening day, be a starting left fielder and get very regular at bats, because part of me feels like he's been in the system forever. They've had opportunities to hand him at bats, and they haven't done it. And same thing with Eggy a little bit too, even though the opportunities maybe haven't really been there beyond a part-time role. So I think you got to try to not to overreact either way. My inclination would probably be that this is going to be more of a Jason Hayward type situation, at least early on, and you go from there and you see what he's got left in the tank. That's what I think will probably happen, but I understand from the fan standpoint, Ben, that the more exciting option is seeing what you have in a young guy who you think has promise.
And again, you can always bring up a guy like Tirso later.
Of course.
And, Jason Hayward, though, you gave him a major league deal to probably be your starter at the beginning of the season. I think it would be an upset if anyone but Jason Hayward was out there, especially if he's, up there against, as a right-handed pitcher, whatever. I would be surprised if it was someone other than Jason Hayward. But Tirso's been playing really well. I need money in the chat. Says having some thump at the bottom of the lineup sounds pretty good. Who is the thump, though? Is Jason Hayward the thump, or is Tirso Ornelas the thump, or is Eggy Rosario the thump at the bottom of the lineup? I agree. Thump sounds good. I just don't know who.
Yeah.
And you're right, Sammy. The internal assessment, especially of the younger guys, the internal assessment of Jason Hayward. They wouldn't have signed him if they didn't have a pretty solid internal assessment of him and Connor Joe. For the minor league guys, though, their stocks rise and fall, and you're just not sure what AJ and his scouting staff really think of Tirso. Is this a flash in the pan moment, or is this the budding start of what is going to be a really good major league career?
Yeah, Tirso's been around, just to focus on him in particular, he's been around a long time. So, I don't know how much a great spring will adjust what their internal evaluation is of Tirso and his ability to perform at the major league level if he does get regular at-bats. Again, I would just make the point that last year they put him on the 40-man. There was a period of time, Ben, where it looked like he was going to get called up. It made sense that he was going to get called up and get that opportunity, and they never did it, and he's been around a long time. That's not to say that Tirso is not going to get that opportunity one day and run with it. He might. I hope he does. But again, both ways on spring training, I think you got to pump the brakes a little bit. And I'm with you. I'd be willing to bet that they try the Jason Hayward part of this and see what they got in him. And, the likelihood is probably that somebody like Tirso starts the year at AAA and then he gets that opportunity later on in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, and Nick in the chat pointed out it's probably Chris Sale in the opener, so you won't necessarily have Jason Hayward in the lineup, but I'm talking about kind of the general against righties, what you're going to have, kind of everyday guy. Probably Jason Hayward, at least to start the season. All right, we'll come back. Bob Scanlan's going to join us. We'll play a little real or fake. And here's a question. Does Dave Roberts deserve to be the highest paid manager in baseball? I see some Dodgers fans in the chat. I think it's a legitimate question to ask. And they're talking contract extension with Doc. All of that ahead with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. way home on a Friday. Usually that's Woodsy's line. He is off today. I am Ben Higgins, Sammy Levitt filling in from Peoria, Arizona. We appreciate having him. Paulie Reindl, under the weather today. So our boss, Adam Klug, is here. Bald Reindl filling in on the board. Some technical difficulties in hour number one, but seems to have been ironed out so far. So good job, Adam, over there. Glad we could be here with all the tier ones until 10 o'clock this morning. Woodsy was supposed to, Sammy, leave at 4 a.m. in their new Ben bus, their Sprinter, with the family for the drive to Las Vegas. I have not heard from him at all this morning. He threatened, maybe I'll call in from the road, see how it's going. I have not heard word one from Woods on this drive. Hopefully it's going well for them.
Well, I saw a tweet this morning. I don't know if you saw this morning. What time was this? I saw a tweet from Stephen Woods. Or was it an Instagram story? I think it was an Instagram story. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up here so the listening audience and viewing audience can follow along here. Stephen Woods, Instagram story this morning. This was 4 hours ago. So that was 4 a.m. around Pacific time. It's a selfie of him, Bo, and Taylor, who appear to be in pajamas still. And the caption is "Road Trip Crew Waiting on Mama." So was Hannah late? I mean, 4 a.m. This is a selfie. Woods
last minute packing,
tired.
Maybe forgot something.
Last minute packing.
Woods will take any opportunity to give just about anybody in his life grief, whether it's Hannah, his own kids, me, Paul, Adam, you, anyone. If there's a chance, he is going to take it on social media. So hopefully the drive is going well for them, and hope they have a really good time with their two concerts, which they're taking both kids to both concerts. Tonight, the Eagles at the Sphere. Tomorrow, Deftones at the MGM Grand. Ambitious. Let's say I will give Woods, he is an ambitious parent, no doubt about it.
But that is nice to include the kids in those kinds of experiences. Very nice. Probably impacts his enjoyment and his wife's enjoyment level, but I give him credit for that. My parents were very much like that. They didn't go on trips without us or anything like that. Very much always included. We were good kids, didn't make much of a ruckus.
Good. That's nice. Todd said he's probably at Alien Jerky getting sauced up. You have to make some stops on the road trip, especially when you got two kids. They're going to have to go to the bathroom a couple of times. I'm sure maybe they stop for breakfast at some point. So there's no way that they've already gotten to Vegas at this point. They're still somewhere in the desert between, Baker and Prim or something at this juncture would be my guess if things are going well.
My dad texted me, you were made to sit through Neil Diamond once, remember? And I forgot about that. One time I did sit through a full Neil Diamond concert as a child, which I was probably good at the concert, but probably not the biggest fan of Neil Diamond at that time.
If I could just point out, for someone who likes to give others grief, and I'm talking about Stephen Woods, he was very adamant about basically only, I don't remember, what was the word he used? Losers who drive to Las Vegas? Is that correct?
Yeah, he was.
Is this now his second road trip to Las Vegas?
He was a stick in the mud for a while about it. Felt like flying was the only way to go, but now they got this new van, and that road trips are the new Woods family thing going forward. This is like the test, but they want to do the Yellowstone, the national park, Zion, maybe, with the kids and have a big space for them sometime in the future. So this is kind of a bit of a test run for the family doing the early one. At least they're up. They get up so early, they can at least beat some of the Friday traffic getting there. Now, how early can they leave on Sunday when the time changes coming back to beat the traffic? We'll see how long that trip takes, and we'll get a full report from Woods on Monday. I wanted to get some other baseball stories here as we kick off hour number 3. We do have Real or Fake and Bob Scanlan coming up later this hour, and we'll talk some SDFC in our final hour. But headline this morning, saw on ESPN, sources, Dodgers, and Dave Roberts nearing a long-term contract extension. Dave is going into the final year of his deal this year, and had really had trouble even after winning the World Series. You thought, well, maybe they get that done. Had trouble, from what I've heard, negotiating a contract extension. And if I'm representing Dave Roberts coming off a World Series, I am trying to ask for the, as much as I possibly can. The standard right now is the 5-year, $40 million deal Craig Counsell signed to be stolen away from the Milwaukee Brewers to the Chicago Cubs a couple of off seasons ago in November of 2023. So, Sammy, let me ask you first.
Yeah.
Does Dave Roberts, coming off the World Series title, and, had the 2020 little short mini World Series as well, does Dave Roberts deserve to be the highest paid manager in baseball history after what his team has accomplished?
I would say yes, even just based on the fact that he should get paid more than Craig Counsell. I mean, the fact that they're coming off a World Series, the fact that it's a big market, the fact that it's a team that has very, very high expectations. Not to do Dodger loving here, but the idea that Dave Roberts would not make as much as Craig Counsell, just that part of it seems wrong to me. So I don't know how much Dave Roberts, the manager, would have a bigger impact, compared to somebody else. I mean, I think Ben, you could probably manage the LA Dodgers, and I think they'd probably be just fine. But based on who they've been coming off a World Series, and the idea that you would have other managers making more than him, I would say yes. But I don't know that his impact is beyond what a lot of other guys would do with that team in particular.
Let me start by saying I think ultimately he will end up being the highest paid manager in baseball.
I would think. And you probably should, I guess.
Mostly because the Dodgers can afford it.
Of
so
course.
Why not just do it? But I think there's a better argument to be made that Dave Roberts could be one of the lowest paid managers in baseball. I mean, if you want to have success, if you are going to any job, if you get the most resources from your employer compared to anyone else, and you're put in the best possible position to have success by your employer, it's not Dave who's paying all these salaries. It's, Dodgers ownership pays all these salaries. He's got the most to work with from any other team. It's the managers who have the least to work with that do the most, that probably are more valuable commodities in Major League Baseball. But they generally work for the cheaper team, so you don't see them getting as much money. That's why Craig Counsell left the Brewers. He was doing a ton with not much with the Brewers, but the Brewers can't pay him a ton, so he left for the Cubs, an organization that can pay more. First season, he didn't do nearly as well as he did with the Brewers. Now, maybe with more resources this year, he will do better. But Craig Counsell is already kind of showing that why overpay a manager? Why overpay a manager? There's no magic managers in baseball. Mike Shildt has done a very good job, and he's the one manager in baseball that doesn't have any blemishes on his record. It's very rare for a manager in baseball. Even Joe Torre, even the legendary managers have some blemishes on their record. Dave has his playoff blemishes, but Shildt has 90-win seasons with the Cardinals and the Padres every single full season that he has managed. Again, he hasn't gotten to the promised land, though, so you can hold that against him as well. Adam made the point, during our break when we were going to bring this up. If you had asked this question in, late September of last year, before the playoffs started, you would have said Dave Roberts isn't getting a contract extension. He may not even have a job this year, the way things are trending. Did Dave all of a sudden become a better manager when the Dodgers were down 2-1 to the Padres, and his job was very much hanging by a thread? If the Padres win Game 4 or Game 5, if they don't go quiet, if that pitching staff doesn't dominate the last 2 days, and Dave didn't come and give a big speech and go, hey, pitching staff, why don't you dominate and shut him out the next 2 days? Then we can't lose. He is probably fired today.
Yep.
Did he really go from a guy who you were going to fire to the best manager in baseball who deserves the biggest contract in history in a 2-week period? That's silly to even talk about that. But ultimately, he probably will get that sort of deal.
Yeah.
I know.
I agree with you. I think he's going to get it, but I think the point of the fact that he was a loss away from getting fired in all likelihood would be the ultimate counter argument to the whole thing.
And I won't, Woodsy told me, he doesn't like to break any news, but he knows people, agents in baseball, what they're talking about. And he said, Dodgers were kind of lowballing Dave Roberts. They realized once he won a World Series that probably should extend him and not have a lame duck manager going into the season, but they weren't, at least initially, of the mind that they should have to pay premium dollars for a manager, given how much they give him and, the resources they spend on their roster. Now, have they compromised and gotten to the point where he is going to get that, or will he not get that? I guess we'll find out probably in the next couple of days, because ESPN is reporting that they are closing in on that long-term extension. And as we'd all expect now, Dave Roberts will probably be there for, a long time to come. But
Ben, you do a great job.
Thanks, Dave. I'm actually arguing that against you getting paid at this point. So maybe he won't think I'm doing such a great job anymore in the future. But that's an interesting story that came out last night from Alden Gonzalez of ESPN, that they are getting close to a contract extension for Dave Roberts. All right, let's take a timeout. It's 8:13. We have a game of real or fake. It involves Sam Levitt and his personal history in our next segment. So if you want to be our contestant and have a chance to qualify for our trip to Las Vegas, where Woods is headed right now, you can call in at 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll get a contestant lined up during our break, and then we will come back, and we will have more Ben and Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. First, I'm going to talk about Prize Picks, which is daily fantasy, DFS, daily fantasy sports. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to dip my toes into the water a year or so ago. And they said, no, give it a try. See if you have fun with it. So I did. I downloaded the app. It was really simple. And I've been playing, I run my game. They say run your game at Prize Picks. There's different ways you can run your game. If you're Woods, you might play multiple lineups every day. I don't. I play 2 or 3 times a week. It works for me. I generally set, I like 3-player lineups. You're picking more or less against stat projections. So if I'm watching basketball, I may pick, point guard from one team, center from another team, and, rebounds for a forward on a third team. And that's my lineup. I do it that way, and, I try to win. Or you can go big, put 6 guys in a lineup and go for the big score. You can win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks if you do it right. It's pro basketball. It's college basketball. You got all the stars in there, like Steph Curry, 3-pointers. That's a big one every single time his team plays, and you can put those into lineups as well. Here's what you do. Go to the website, prizepicks.com. Download the app. Very quick, very easy. And then when you first load it up and you play your first $5 lineup, if you use the code KWFN, you're going to get $50 instantly to play with. That's just yours to play with. And then when you win, that money goes right into your account. Build up your bankroll. Play Prize Picks today. Just use the code KWFN and get your $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. Sam Levitt, I assume you know the answer to this, but I'd be curious to ask even fairly diehard baseball fans if they could identify who is Lawrence Butler.
He's an A who just got a contract.
I knew
extension.
you knew that. I knew you knew that. I wondered how many people out there, though, have heard of Lawrence Butler. Actually, one of the surprising rising stars that not a lot of guys have heard of. And there's a reason why. He played for the A's last year in front of no one on a team that was about to move in a depressing, kind of end of the season. Wasn't really a hot commodity. He got sent down to AAA early in the year last year, but then came up, and in the second half of the season, Lawrence Butler was outstanding. This even surprised me when I saw the numbers. After he returned to the big leagues on June 18th, Lawrence Butler hit .291, 330 OBP, 565 slug, 20 home runs, 15 stolen bases, 330 plate appearances. And the Athletics, now of Sacramento, just announced a 7-year, $65.5 million contract extension with a club option. So, buying out all of his pre-ARB, ARB, and the first year of free agency and possibly the second year of free agency as well, or possibly the third year of free agency as well with that option. So paying him more now so they can pay him later a little bit less. Similar to the deal Jay Cronenworth kind of got from the Padres a few years ago. You can argue whether that was a smart one or not for the Padres when they did that, but trying to lock in a guy in around a $10 million year value and hoping that he turns into a $20 to $30 million a year player that then you feel like you've got a bargain, a steal for years to come. So another move for the A's as they move into their new minor league digs in Sacramento this year. Minor league baseball, Sammy, also will play a role in today's game of real or fake. You ready to go?
Yes.
All right, let's get to it. It is time for a little real or fake.
Some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. Yeah, you can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
Real or Fake brought to you by Bay Alarm, security and fire alarms for every business. We got you. Thank you to Bay Alarm for joining the Take on Woods and Real or Fake family here. And we've got Paul in Ramona. Paul, is that you?
That's me.
All right, Paul, you are our contestant today on Real or Fake. Here's what you're playing for. If you can get 4 out of the 7 correct, you will qualify for our grand prize. It is a trip to Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Alanis Morissette at the Coliseum at Caesars Palace, a 2-night stay at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino, and a $100 gas card. You can go to Ticketmaster.com, get your own tickets for Alanis Morissette. All right, we're doing Real or Fake today because we have no Woods. John Flint is also not here down the hall. I have no idea if Sammy's musical knowledge would have been up to snuff. So we're going to play a Sam Levitt-themed edition of Real or Fake today. And here's what we're going to do. Paul, I'm even going to learn something about Sam Levitt today. I know Sam has done a lot of play-by-play already in his career. But how much? Today on Real or Fake, I'm going to name a team, Paul. You tell me if Sam Levitt was ever one of their regular or at least semi-regular play-by-play announcers. Yes, Adam?
Normally in this game, the caller can ask Woods for help.
Yes.
In this instance,
no one can help you because Sam obviously knows the answers, and Adam also knows the answers because he's got the dings and the buzzes. So everybody here is in the know. So you're on your own today. Paul, do you think you can handle it?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. I feel like I'm in the Hall of Fame ring right here with Sammy, Adam, and you, Ben. This is pretty cool.
Love that.
A little pressure.
Some would say it's more the B squad today, but that's fine. I enjoy Hall of Fame categorization. All right, Paul, here we go. And Sammy, you give us some context after he gives his answer.
Okay.
Right. Real or fake? Sam Levitt, play-by-play announcer of the Orleans Firebirds. Real or fake, Paul? The Orleans Firebirds.
Fake.
Fake. Real. I have never. Who are the Orleans Firebirds, Sam?
Cape Cod Baseball League.
Cape Cod League. Orleans. So not New Orleans.
No, Orleans, Massachusetts.
As you go
up the arm of the Cape, it's like if you're looking at the Cape, it's like right at your elbow.
Do they have can you get good gumbo and etouffee there, or no? Just clam chowder like everybody
more
else?
like a lobster roll.
All right, 0 for 1, but there's plenty of time to bounce back in this game, Paul. Let's go round number 2. The University of Wisconsin Parkside Rangers, real or fake?
Let's go real.
You're going to go real. When was Sammy ever in Wisconsin? Adam? Apparently it's real. When were you doing play-by-play in Parkside, Wisconsin? Okay, is that near the border?
Yes, you drove up a little past Kenosha, Wisconsin, and you were in Parkside. Parkside Rangers, D2 school.
I've never heard of it, ever once.
Can he differentiate? This is not the University of Wisconsin Badgers. This is the University of Wisconsin.
This is the Division II University. Yes.
Is this like the UW
system? Wisconsin? University of Wisconsin Parkside. Yes.
This is like the
D2.
UC Santa Cruz of
Correct.
Wisconsin or something.
Correct.
Okay, all right. That's one for you, Paulie. Let's go to round number 3. Let's try the Midland College Chaps. The Midland College Chaps. Real or fake, Paul?
Chaps just sounds too goofy. Let's go fake.
The team is real. Sam's involvement, however, is fake. Midland College. Your Texas travels never took you to Midland. Okay.
Oh, no.
Well,
I've been to Midland many times.
You've never called games for Midland College.
No, not for the Midland College, no.
I bet it's lovely this time of year or any time of year, right? All right, that's 2 correct. All right, you're doing well. All right, let's go to round number 4. The Biloxi Shuckers. The Biloxi Shuckers. Paul, real or fake?
Biloxi Shuckers. Let's go fake.
He's going to go fake. And you are correct again. That's 3 in a row. Minor league baseball team, the Biloxi Shuckers, but not one that is employed.
Biloxi.
Biloxi.
Mississippi. It's not Biloxi?
Yes.
Biloxi.
No, it's
Biloxi. It's an O.
Biloxi, Mississippi.
I don't have a Cajun accent for you. I'm sure. I'm sorry. All right, one more right, Paul, and you will qualify for our grand prize. Let's go with the Sam Houston State Bearcats. Real or fake, Paul?
Well, it has Sam in it. Let's go true.
Sam and Sam. That's too obvious. Sorry. Oh, wait. No, that is correct. Congratulations, Paul. So when did you call games for Sam Houston State?
Sam Houston State. That's when I was in Corpus Christi with the Corpus Christi Hooks, another real team.
And you also called games for the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders.
The Durs. They used to call them the Durs.
You got around in Corpus Christi.
I don't know what this is called, but this was like their hand signal for the university.
Never even got to the famous ones, the Amarillo Sod Poodles. Obviously, we've talked about that a lot. We're in their Padres minor league affiliate formerly. And by the way, there was another 8 that I left off the list that Sam had sent me that he has actually done regular play-by-play for. Paul, stay on the line. Adam will get you information, get you into the drawing for our grand prize. I mean, you've put in 3 careers worth of play-by-play already.
Yeah, there were a lot of stops.
Now,
a lot of stops before San Diego.
Are these all one and dones? And did anyone not want to keep you for a second season?
No,
you were just moving on. You were just kind of.
I was moving on. I'm very proud to say I don't think I've ever been let go from any place. It was
Fantastic.
more me.
It was also more that they were paying you such a pittance of wages for your work. They were happy to keep you as long as you wanted to. What was the least you were ever paid? I know we've all done this job for free many times, but what was actual job of play-by-play that you were paid for? What was the least you got for calling games?
Well, the Cape Cod League, I mean, you got it was a little tiny stipend for the whole summer. I mean, you were basically a volunteer in the Cape League.
Okay.
But on a per game, oh my goodness, I've done games for $40.
$40.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've done games for $40, $50.
$40 to $50 is Sam's minimum rate. Well, I hope you never have to go back to that rate again. All right, let's take a little break. When we come back, we'll have another guest for us joining us from Peoria, Arizona. At least I think he's still there, or unless he's coming home and then going back next week. Bob Scanlan, who has been calling some games with Jesse Agler this week, will get his perspective on the Padres at spring training as well. Ben and Sam Levitt with you here on a Friday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Padres, Milwaukee Brewers. Maybe this afternoon from Maryvale, Arizona, weather permitting. But we're going to talk some Padres here coming up. Bob Scanlan is standing by on the line. He is going to be, he's calling some games with Jesse. I heard him this week. And then he's going to call with my co-host today, Sammy Levitt, the spring breakout game next Friday. So we'll talk to Bob, get his early thoughts on the San Diego Padres right after a quick check of traffic with Kelly here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Eliminite Termite, the orange oil expert. Several stalled vehicles we're dealing with now. Northbound 15 just past El Cajon Boulevard. Tow truck is rolling up to help out. It's over the right shoulder. Also southbound 15 in the North County, right before Rancho Bernardo Road. Stalled vehicle in the HOV lane. And a stall on the coastline. Southbound 5 right before Cannon. That's got the slow lane blocked. Have termites. Eliminite Termite inspects, treats, and repairs termite damage, all with a full structural warranty. Their orange oil treatment is safe for people, pets, and the planet. No tent, no move out. Protect your home naturally. Schedule a free inspection at eliminitetermite.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So usually it's been our Sammy Levitt who has been bopping around the Padres complex in Peoria, Arizona, joining us from the back patio. Today, Sammy stayed behind at his Airbnb so he could join us for a more of the show. But we got Bob Scanlan, who is wandering around in the rain in Peoria, Arizona, apparently this morning. Bob, welcome to Ben and Sam Levitt this morning on 97.3 The Fan.
Ben, it's been a long time, my friend. How are you? And Sammy, I got to get on you, man. You're slacking. Where are you? I'm out here in the cold and rain, and you're inside.
He's working even hard. He's working even harder than usual this morning, actually.
Oh, jeez. I'm not buying that. He's a pretty darn hard worker all the time, but he's doing it in comfort today. That's what I got to call out.
How bad does it have they canceled any of the normal workouts there, Bob? Because they'd be on the field at this point. Are they out there, or are they skipping the normal work because of the weather?
Oh, yeah, no, it's raining here right now. Everything's wet. The fields, all the practice fields are soaked right now. So, the bullpen is still an area that they can get their work in if guys need to throw some bullpens. I've seen guys going into the batting cage. So they're getting their swings in. They're getting some of their, just basic work in. But as far as doing your daily fundamentals, nope, that's all shut down. And we'll wait and see. I'm hearing different reports on the weather out here. They're saying it might open up a little bit this afternoon. If that's the case, they might try to get this thing started, and then it's supposed to resume again this afternoon as well. So who knows? We're on call, and hey, there's no place I'd rather be. Even if it's a wet baseball field, I'm happy to be at a baseball field.
Bob, how much has you talked about the bullpen sessions? How much has that changed since you were a player to now? Because now I see them through a bullpen, and they got to set up 15 pieces of equipment, TrackMans and radars. And I mean, they're essentially like mobile labs for every player. Obviously, they didn't have that stuff when you were in Major League Baseball and pitching. How much do you feel like it really has changed from your day to now?
Are you kidding? Ben, in my day, I was just happy if we had a catcher. That was like a big thing. Hey, we got a catcher back here. And I actually had one guy that he used to smoke cigarettes, and he'd stick his cigarette into the lacings of his catcher's mitt as he'd catch you, take a little puff in between throws on the way back. So, yeah, I think things have changed a little bit. But, it really is amazing, and it's kind of fun to see the evolution that's taken place. To your point, all kinds of cameras out there. They have a TrackMan. They have they have Sotos, they have all kinds of stuff. And usually each year they're also experimenting with some new things as well. So you'll see some new device and, hey, what's that? Well, it's something that we're giving a try to. And, maybe it sticks around, maybe it doesn't. But the point is there's so much more just information for these guys to be able to use and absorb. And it's the age-old question that we've been talking about for, several years now since this technology has come in is, okay, which of it is really helpful? How do you use it? I think there's more data right now than they even know what to do with at times. And the teams have acknowledged this. It was really interesting. The Cubs were using data for their minor league guys for the last several years, but their players, and talking to some of the minor league guys that were coming out of that organization, they're saying, well, they had a bunch of data, they were collecting it, but they wouldn't really share it with us. And then you talk to the Cubs front office people and say, well, that's because we really weren't sure what we had. So we didn't want to go, giving it to guys, not really knowing exactly how to use it or to direct them with it. So it's a constant evolution. And the main thing with it all, Ben, is yes, some of it is just sort of reaffirming things that we already intuitively knew, but now we have better ways of measuring it. And I think one of the most important things, and this is just in talking with one of the Padre pitchers the other day who's trying to throw a split finger, you can learn more about a new pitch more quickly than you ever could. So in my day, like I want to start throwing a slider, I'm messing with 7 different grips. I'm asking hitters to stand in there. I'm asking what my pitching coach, hey, what do you think? I'm asking the catcher, hey, what do you think? Trying to just gather information from as many sources as you could, right? And trying to piece it all together and then hoping that it works in a game. Nowadays, and that might take weeks or months before you figure out the right recipe for it all. Nowadays, with all the technology, they can do it pitch by pitch. And I think that's sort of the most interesting thing to watching these bullpens. A guy throw a pitch, he gets instant feedback from the data, and he can make an adjustment right away. So it really speeds up the learning process, which I think is good.
Scan, let's go back to learning new pitches, because Dylan Cease is in the process of that right now. Yesterday made his second Cactus League start. He's working on that two-seamer. He did use it again yesterday. He said after the game that he's got to see the metrics on it, and it sounds like he's still getting a feel for that pitch. What did you think about Dylan Cease yesterday and the potential of him working in something with the two-seam that could provide him a little bit of a different look?
Yeah, I love that he's trying to add something to the repertoire. And one thing we know about Ruben Niebla, he is always about what more can we do, right? There are some pitching coaches that are more conservative and say, hey, let's just master the 2 or 3 pitches that you have. Ruben is on the opposite end of the spectrum. He's like, if you've got something and you want to work on it, let's go for it. For 2 reasons. First of all, he feels like, A, it might actually turn out to be an incredible difference maker type pitch for you. But B, even if it doesn't turn into that, it still allows you to work on your feeling of the ball, your manipulation of the ball, how you control things. And the more you're doing that and practicing those skills, the better you're going to get with your other pitches as well. So that's sort of his philosophy behind it. And I love the fact that Dylan wants to get better. All these guys want to get better. They're not complacent. And it makes sense what he's trying to do. The fact that he's trying to get a 2-seamer, which is going to give him a different look, right? Most of his pitches are 4-seamers. Sometimes they'll cut a little bit to the outside corner. The slider is going away. Everything is sort of from arm side to glove side. But to have something that he can run in on a right-hander early in the count and just give that guy something else to look at, maybe a swing and a quick early ground out, or if nothing else, a little bit more breathing room to the other side of the plate, I think it's a great idea. I saw several of them yesterday. I wasn't directly behind home plate, so I couldn't really tell exactly the movement on it, but I could see when he was throwing them at times. And it seemed like it was effective, and I think it's something that he's going to work on, and we'll see if it becomes a weapon in the season. But definitely the idea behind it makes a ton of sense.
Talking to Bob Scanlan, Padres TV analyst, reporter, and former Major League pitcher. Always like picking your pitch and brain, Bob. And one guy that we may see today, weather permitting, for the first time, is Kyle Hart. What are you hearing? I don't know if you've seen any of his side sessions. They've kind of kept him a little bit under wraps so far after signing him out of the KBO not that long ago, but we could see his public debut today, apparently against the Brewers after Yu Darvish goes, if that game is played.
Hey, I'll be honest with you. I'm as excited to see it as you guys are for the same reasons. I haven't seen anything yet. I've not had a chance to see any side sessions or anything of that nature at this point. So it's going to be my first viewing as well. And yeah, I'm anxious to see what how it plays. I think just in doing the research and in talking to people, one of the things that he did differently in the KBO was to use the fastball a little bit more. So when he was pitching in the States, I think the theory was, look, he's not overpowering with the fastball, right? So let's go to your breaking ball. Let's use that more. But in the KBO, he found out, well, if I use the fastball more, it actually gives me more breathing room and more swing and miss on the slider. So will that philosophy play out here back in the United States? We'll wait and see. Obviously, you've got to have good command of that fastball, especially against these big league hitters. And I'm curious to see. Let's be honest, too. Sometimes, guys, it has nothing to do with stuff, right? You think, oh, he went over to Korea. He went over to Japan. He, went over here and they completely revamped them, and he learned this and he changed that. So sometimes that's the case, but sometimes, frankly, it is just about a guy finally having some success and some confidence in what his stuff is, and feeling like, hey, I can actually go after guys, and I don't have to nibble, and not putting myself into bad counts. So who knows how much of it is maybe just a confidence factor that might help him. So yeah, I'm curious, just like you guys, to see how he looks today.
Bob Scanlan joining us here on 97.3 The Fan. Scan, Ben and I were having the conversation a little bit earlier this morning about the Padres' options in left field, and more specifically, the different directions they could go as far as more a veteran guy like, Jason Hayward getting more regular playing time, or one of these guys on the younger end that's had a really good spring, whether it's an Eggy Rosario, a Tirso, or a Nelas. How do you view left field right now and what some of these young guys have done in comparison to what we know about, let's say, a guy like Jason Hayward, obviously, who's been around for a long, long time?
I think it's still an ongoing battle. I don't know what you guys have already discussed about it, so maybe you can get me up to speed on what you guys kind of surmised, but I don't view that as being a locked-in situation at all. I think it's one of the most competitive situations out there. And the nice thing is all those guys have been doing well. So it's not a thing of, oh my gosh, we've got 4 or 5 different options out there. None of these guys are doing anything up to this point. It's been more a case of, hey, Ornelas has been swinging the bat well. Eggy Rosario, who they've talked about getting some reps out there, and he's done it a couple times. We haven't seen him out there as much as I thought we might have up to this point, but he's swinging the bat well. So, Connor Joe's got experience. We all know who Jason Hayward is and what he brings to the table, on the defensive side and as a clubhouse presence. So they have some nice options, but from my perspective, that's going to be one of the battles that we watch all the way till the end here. Is that how you guys kind of see it as well?
I think so. We talked about it earlier and said, I think fans are excited by the idea of the unknown quantity of a young player like Tirso, and hey, sky's the limit because we don't know what his limit is, whereas Jason Hayward and Connor Joe are more known quantities. But I think the Padres and AJ Preller, if I'm thinking like a GM, I'll start with the known quantity, and if that doesn't work out, we can try it the other direction. But the results in spring training, Tirso has been great, but obviously you hear the phrase, spring training results mean less than nothing. Do you subscribe to that? Padres offense has struggled in general. It doesn't matter, but I can't say every day that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden one day it simply does. They are trying to get hits, Bob. How much weight do you put in spring training results?
Yeah, it's a great question and one that gets debated all the time, right? And I think some of it has to do with, well, who are you talking about? What is their status coming into spring training? Is it a guy that's getting himself ready for opening day? Is it a guy that is, trying to make a team? Who is he facing? Sometimes early in spring training, you'll see some of the young guys who come in and they're hungry, right? So they've been working all off season. Some of them have gone to winter ball, so they come in and they're sharp, and they get starts in the games. And who are they facing the first couple times through, first couple of weeks of the season? Well, they're facing usually opposing starters who are veteran guys who are just getting themselves ready for opening day. So in other words, it's not necessarily the best stuff, right? And so now you've got a kid that's at his prime, he's sharp, he's hungry, and he's facing a 10-year veteran that knows that he's got 6 weeks to get himself ready. So here you go, kid. Here's a fastball, outer half. Do what you want to do with it. So I try to look at what is actually happening. What kind of pitches is he actually hitting? Who has he been facing? What's been the approach? What's been the pitch counts and everything? Is he jumping on cripple fastballs in hitters counts against a guy that's just trying to get a feel here early in spring training? Or is he facing a guy that's actually bringing it 96 miles an hour with some run on it, and he's got a good breaking ball to go with it? And this kid just put a great at-bat together and fought himself into a 2-strike situation and followed, lined it into right field with a great approach. So I just think there's a lot of things that you have to take into account. And to your point, Ben, it's not just the numbers, it's the process of how you got there. And I think that's a thing that always has to be taken into account in these spring training situations. I've been through too many spring trainings and seen both sides of it. I always go back to a name that you guys won't know, but his name was Gary Scott, third baseman with the Cubs, young kid. He was trying to break with the team. I think he hit about 400 in spring training. Everybody thought, oh my gosh, here he is, the next Ron Santo. We're locked in. Well, the season started, and I think he went 2 for the next 36 to start the season, and poor Gary Scott found himself back down to AAA. So every year you're going to have those types of situations where kids tear it up, and then when the bell rings, it's a completely different story in terms of the quality of pitching that they're facing and the pressure that's now on them to perform at the major league level. And the opposite is true as well. We see guys that struggle all spring, bell rings, and they turn it on. So I know there's no. I'm sorry, I can't give you a black and white answer.
No, I think that was a great answer, actually, Bob. And I know exactly. The Padres had their own Gary Scott. It was the first year I did the pre and the post game show in the year 2000, and they showed up at spring training. And this guy, outfielder, his name was John Roscos. He absolutely tore up the Cactus League. I mean, hit like 500 led the Cactus League in home runs. He was just mashing. And because the Padres in 2000 weren't a very good team, this kid from Victorville made the roster. Opening day, went like 1 for 21 with 16 strikeouts in the big leagues and was never heard from again. Got his release, and that was it. The highlight of his career was one spring with the San Diego. They call him the Rock, John Ross, the Rock Roscos. Just didn't turn out to mean anything at all. He's currently employed, according to Wikipedia, as a Rio Rancho Police Department officer in New Mexico.
Good for him. He found a way for the skills to transition to something after a baseball career. So we always hope that for guys. Yeah, that's a great example of it. And I think, Sammy, I'm sure you've got a list of guys that you've seen that's the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So would you rather see guys having a great spring? Of course. And then there's situations like Jackson Merrill, who we watched all spring training long last year, and you can just tell by this kid's approach, by the way he went about things, his balance at the plate, his adaptation from one game to the next. He was in a plate appearance, and he just saw it. He's like, okay, these are tools that this kid has that are going to play. It has nothing to do with feasting on bad pitching. It has nothing to do with just running on adrenaline right here. It has nothing to do with him showing up to camp a little bit sharper than everybody else. It has to do with this guy can flat out hit. This guy knows what he's doing at the plate. He's got great balance. He's got great back control. He's a student of the game. And if you look at it, you're less surprised. Yeah, it's still impressive. I'm not taking anything away from what he did, but I'm just saying, there are reasons there that you look at and say, okay, there's some foundational stuff here that justifies this translating at the big league level, and to say the least, it certainly did.
Bob, we are out of time. Really appreciate your insight as always. Look forward to hearing more of you on our airwaves, including the spring breakout great game with Sam Levitt next Friday. Have a great one. Thank you.
Hey, always great talking with you guys. Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, we're going to go to the top of the hour. We'll come back. I've got speaking of Victorville, I have an update from Woods on the family drive to Las Vegas. We also have the biggest fan name to give to you when we come back with more Ben and Sam Levitt on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Robert Half. 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is there to help. They're recruiting professionals, utilizing award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. Ben, Sam Levitt, we got 1 more hour live here until 10 o'clock this morning on a Friday here on 97.3 The Fan. Sammy is at his Airbnb in Peoria, Arizona, the complex. It's raining. Sounds like you're not missing much this morning, Sammy.
No, it is not. We'll see if the weather holds in Maryvale, which is actually not too far away from my Airbnb here in Glendale. If it holds enough to play today's game. We do have an update. Yu Darvish will not pitch today. If they do play against the Brewers, his start has been pushed to Saturday because of the weather. And left-hander Kyle Hart, who is also scheduled to throw after Darvish today, he will start today's game if they do play in Maryvale.
The mystery continues. For a veteran, takes any uncertainty out of the mix. Don't read into that, I would say, anything negative. That is because Yu Darvish doesn't want to wait around and find out he can't pitch and was expecting to throw probably like three innings or so today, and he doesn't. Then he's got to go back to the complex and put in an entire sim game. He can just do that now in the bullpens that are covered in Peoria, get his work in, and then start on tomorrow instead. He's going to start tomorrow, Saturday, you said?
Tomorrow.
Oh,
yes.
okay. So he won't work today. Then he'll just push it all back a day. Not a big deal either way. But they have more certainty with the weather, I guess, tomorrow. So they're going to push him back. It is time right now for our biggest fan. If you hear your name called, you'll have 10 minutes to call us back at 833-288-0973. Qualify for our grand prize. It is 20 tickets for you and your friends for a night in the Odyssey Suite at a Padres game. Great suite just behind home plate on the third base side. You can register your name at 97.3 The Fan, sd.com/biggest fan. But right now, the 10 minutes is on for Andre Larson from San Diego. Andre Larson, you're up. Call Adam now at 833-288-0973 and get your name into the drawing for the grand prize of our biggest fan contest. We'll have more names for you this afternoon. Sammy, are you starting to get stir crazy? Not because of the rain, just being away from home, kind of getting to the dog days of March here, as it were, in spring training for someone who's been covering the team now for how long you've been there? Like 3.5 weeks?
Yeah, about 3.5 weeks. We're about a little over midway through, so 3.5 weeks. I wouldn't say stir crazy. I enjoyed it. It's helped that I'm at the same house that I was last year. That's added, I would say, familiarity and doesn't feel as hectic being in a brand new place. So that's helped, but I wouldn't say too bad yet. Although I will say last night I went to dinner at Cracker Barrel.
Did you? I've actually never been to Cracker Barrel.
Might be a sign of maybe going a little crazy.
It's a buffet,
I love
right?
Cracker Barrel.
It's a buffet?
No.
Oh, it's not a buffet.
It's not a buffet.
Okay.
But I would say it probably is an odd place to go to dinner by yourself. Odd place. I don't want to say odd place to go to dinner in general because I love Cracker Barrel. But of all the places I could go in this greater Phoenix area, it does seem like an interesting choice. I don't know if Adam's ever been to a Cracker Barrel, but I did enjoy it. I'm okay. I'm fine. It's so far so good. I'm not going to stir crazy yet.
I'm assuming there's some Cracker Barrel in Adam Kluge's
I just have a couple of questions. I've been to plenty of Cracker Barrels in the South. Did they have the rocking chairs outside?
On a patio? I don't think they did.
Like for waiting
I don't
for your
think
table?
they did it this one.
Very popular.
Yeah, I don't think they did it this one.
Did they have like a convenience store or a big gift shop?
Yes, that they had.
And did you buy anything?
Merch?
No.
The merch store. They have their own merch store.
It's not even merch, Ben. It's like they have all kinds of stuff. Clothing, they've got candy, they've got little items. It's a weird
Do they
weird
have
vibe,
a
but I will
barrel
say,
full of crackers? No, don't
No,
know. I've actually
not.
never been there. Tyler in the chat says Cracker Barrel's hash brown casserole is so good. Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
The chicken and dumplings, it's my go-to. It's great. I mean, I love a good chicken and dumplings. So that's where I went last night.
Woods isn't here, but people in the chat want to know how much you spent and whether or not I'll approve that expense.
I might have the receipt right here. Hold on. Oh, no, I threw it out. I have it on my phone. I think it was $18 with the tip.
All right, you got it.
I did get approved for all of my expenses from the trip that we went. I still do have my receipts. $10.22 from Whataburger for breakfast. What do you have?
It was even less. $16.89 with the tip yesterday for Cracker Barrel.
My biggest one I had with tip. I had $47.67 for Yellowtail Sushi. Have you gone to the sushi place I recommended yet, Sammy?
No,
Too
I have
pricey?
not. I've been to the one place up. No. Well, here's the thing, and this might surprise people. I don't eat regular sushi. I don't eat raw
What
fish.
is regular
Not my
sushi?
I mean, raw.
What's your
I'll eat
definition?
veggie sushi. I'll eat like a
a
tempura type
cucumber
sushi.
roll or a cooked roll.
Yeah, I'll eat that. I don't
You're
eat
missing out,
anything,
Sammy. Sushi
anything
is
uncooked.
so good. I love.
Not my thing.
A little hamachi, a little bluefin tuna. Get the toro, the belly of the tuna. So delicious. You're cooking that, you're ruining it. You are absolutely ruining a delicious piece of fish by putting any heat to it at all.
I will say, you asked me if I'm going stir crazy, and I'm fine. The one part that is interesting this year is that, and you guys talked about it, we talked about it, is that I moved right before spring training. So I do feel like I kind of miss my new apartment, which still had some novelty to it, like getting used to a new area and walking around. And I really was enjoying that in OB before I left. So I do miss that a little bit. I'm looking forward to getting back to OB so I can kind of get things set up there a little bit more. But I'm fine. I love spring training, and it's like a little vacation, a working vacation.
I've got to take you and get you into sushi. How much have you tried? I mean, obviously
I've
the
tried.
first time you're always a little shaky. You've really tried it. Where?
It's a texture thing. I don't like mushy. I don't like, I'm not a cream cheese guy.
You don't have to have
like
cream
mushy.
cheese. I mean, it's not everything is not a Philadelphia roll.
It's I think it's a texture thing.
We're gonna get you a nice piece of nigiri. It's just
thing.
a good sushi rice, and then a piece of fish on top. A very fresh, delicious piece of fish. It doesn't have to be mushy at all. I want to make it my mission now to get Sammy to try some really good sushi and maybe convince him.
Maybe you would.
I had to do this with my wife. So when we were first dating, my wife would not eat a bite of fish. And I took her to a seafood restaurant for her first date. I didn't know this. And we went to World Famous in PB for our first date. And she ordered a Caesar salad. And I go, oh, that's kind of, I don't know. Is she making a statement just by ordering the Caesar salad? No, it was the fact that nothing on the menu looked good to her because she didn't eat fish at all. But as we went over through the years, she's become an absolute sushi fanatic like me. Now, she still has a couple of things she doesn't like. She doesn't like salmon. She doesn't like, like tuna salad. But there's like a certain type of fish I know to avoid for her. But she loves like tuna sushi and yellowtail sushi. And we'll do sushi all the time. So there's something there for you in the world of sushi that we're going to find that you're going to like, Sam.
Yeah, I'd be willing to try. Maybe it's the wrong thing, but there's a lot of stuff I don't like that you'd be surprised about. Like I don't like peanut butter. I don't eat peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Yeah, no chicken salad, no potato salad. I would never.
I can see that.
Tuna,
That's fine.
Would never eat that.
Mayonnaise can be a troublesome for a lot of people.
Not
Peanut butter's
peanut
weird.
butter guy.
Not at all. No creamy. No chunky. No peanut butter.
Mm-mm.
No, so you didn't eat.
I have never bought a jar of peanut butter
PB&J sandwiches for Sam.
No,
Levin's.
jelly only. No, jelly only.
I don't love
Jelly
peanut
and
butter
bread.
and jelly together. I like jelly alone on bread. I like peanut butter alone on bread. I'll eat peanut butter with a little banana and honey on toast. I think that's delicious. I will have for desserts if I'm trying to stay fairly healthy. I'll just take one spoonful of peanut butter and like a glass of 1% milk, and I'll consider that dessert. So a couple of people asking questions. Tyler says, one of my favorite sushi places in San Diego. I live up in Encinitas, so I go to Encinitas Sushi Lounge. Sushi Cucci in Carlsbad's one of my favorites. If you're in Kearny Mesa, Hidden Fish, a little more pricey, but a little higher end experience. I've always liked that one as well. You got some of the traditional ones as well, like Old Town Sushi Tadakoro, there's you can cultivate your own sushi experience. You can spend a little bit, you can spend a little bit more for the good stuff. To get you into it though, we're gonna have to get you some of the good stuff, Sammy, and figure that out. I want to talk a little more baseball. baseball coming up here, and we can get into the story about Vlad Guerrero Jr. Did you see this, Sam? So
I did.
He had some
Yes.
comments, on the record comments. Obviously, he has said now that we have not, reached a contract extension agreement with the Toronto Blue Jays, he is prepared to go to free agency at the end of this deal. Kind of had his deadline. They passed it. Now he is throwing out numbers, at least what he was asking for. And it seems, and I will couch that by saying it seems like Vlad was fairly reasonable in his ask. He said, we never even got up to $600 million. We were not in the Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto category at all. Makes it sound like whatever the number was, it started with a 5 for a long-term contract extension for Vlad Guerrero Jr. Just knowing that, Sam, are the Blue Jays, were they foolish for not locking him up for a long-term deal and now risking losing him in free agency?
I don't know. I read the story and I thought about it, and then I asked myself, and maybe he is Vlad Jr. a $500 to $600 million player? I mean, he's a great player. He's young. I guess he probably is based on some of the other numbers that have gone out. And if Soto got, basically 800, it would seem, if you think he's that type of player and is going to be that, well into his early to mid 30s, then yeah, I would suppose somewhere in the $500 to about $600 million range would be reasonable over a very, very, very long-term deal.
I think, when you're the Toronto Blue Jays and you were so in on so many big names on the market this offseason.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And then you went and you spent money on lesser names. Oh, well, let's get Max Scherzer then. That doesn't move the needle for me. What would have moved the needle if I'm a Blue Jays fan is locking up a franchise player long-term. And the fact that he's saying, at least, that the numbers were not outrageous and it couldn't get done is a bad PR look right now for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, what was the years? We don't have all the details. I mean, was he asking for $500 million for 7 years? Now it's a totally different conversation than a 13-year contract. But at least in this moment, the Blue Jays, I don't think are looking very good at today based on what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is saying. We got to take a time out. We have more Padres spring training tickets to give away. We'll do that in our next segment coming up. First, though, I want to talk about Trust and Will. Woodsy and I have been telling you about it since the start of the year when we both went through the process at home. Very easy. Just, fire up your laptop, even your phone, spend, 15 to 20, 25 minutes answering a series of questions. And at the end, you can set yourself up with actual legal documents, a legal will, a final will and testament, or a legal trust that helps distribute your assets if something unfortunate should happen to you and your family is left wondering, well, what we do here? They can avoid with a trust, property tax reassessments here in the state of California. They can avoid probate court and the big fees that come along with it. Almost 60% of families experience conflict when dividing assets after someone dies without a clear will or trust. Don't be part of the 60%. You can avoid it by going to trustandwill.com. Don't have to go to a lawyer's office at all. Simply go to trustandwill.com. Use the code San Diego, all one word, San Diego, at checkout. You're going to get 10% off. They're already very reasonable prices. Nothing like a lawyer's office. And free shipping of your estate documents. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to the courts. Have some definition. Even if you don't need it for 30 years, at least you have it in that peace of mind by going to trustandwill.com. That's trustandwill.com. And we'll be back after Kelly's traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Ben and Sam, which also happens to be my brother's name. So I hear Ben and Sam a lot growing up when, hey, Ben and Sam, Ben and Sam. This time it's Sam Levitt, though, with me in for Woodsy today as he's on his way to Vegas. I never gave you that update. He texted me. They made it safely through Victorville, and he texted me the picture with just the word Prim and an exclamation point. The little town at the state line when you cross over from California into Nevada, with like the 3 casinos there on the 2 sides of the road. And I commented and I said, there's never been a more depressing place that gets people more excited than Prim, Nevada. Because you haven't seen anything for miles and miles of just empty desert, and then you finally see this oasis, and there's a roller coaster, and there's the lights, and you like, oh, we're made it, we're crossing state lines in Nevada. But when you think about it, really, really depressing little place. Like for people who just couldn't make the effort of getting another 45 minutes and getting all the way to Sin City, now they stopped in Prim, Nevada, and made that their place.
I remember, I think I've only done the drive through that part of California one time, and it definitely wasn't coming to San Diego for the first time. I don't even remember why I was going to LA. This was a few years ago before I came to San Diego. And that was really, that was the most real driving through the desert drive, deserted, small little towns where you're like, who lives over here?
Very similar to the drive to Peoria, through
little
through
bit
Arizona.
once you get through the mountains, little bit.
Yeah,
at least you get to go through Dateland.
But I can't deny that it's exciting to see Prim. They're not stopping; they're going right through all the way to their weekend in Las Vegas, and we'll get all of Woodsy's stories. I'm sure they will be a copious number of stories on Monday morning when Woods is back from Las Vegas and how it all went, the highs and the lows of their trip. Good work again, Sammy. You've done such excellent coverage of the Padres in Peoria. Just really good. Last couple of days, I talked to Jose Iglesias, the new member of the Padres. Dylan Cease yesterday. You mentioned it a little bit when we talked with Bob Scanlan, talking about working on the new pitch, the 2-seamer. And then Robert Suarez seemed to be working on a new pitch as well, like a gyro slider, I think it was, or something. I don't know if he's really talked about it yet, Sam, but we talked a little bit yesterday with Woods. He threw more changeups in his last outing, but we saw also that breaking ball that he's working on as well. I love how Ruben Niebla's pitchers, like Bob said, they get free reign to try to add to their repertoire and give batters different looks, which I think is outstanding.
Yeah, look, I think with Robert Suarez in particular, it's an interesting thing to watch and look at the pitch usage and see him definitely, at least here in spring, mix it up quite a bit more than what he did for the majority of last year. Robert was so good in the first half last year, but it was almost amazing. He was doing it, as we know, with almost exclusively the 4-seam fastball. So, I wouldn't be surprised if a point of emphasis for him this spring is to, at bare minimum, work on some of those other pitches and make them more effective and maybe make it so he can throw some different stuff. Again, I don't want to say that that's the only reason why Robert had, some more struggles post All-Star break. But it did seem like, at least the effectiveness of being so 4-seam fastball reliant it took its toll in the second half of the year. So look, I would love it if Robert Suarez, developed a new pitch and used some of the off-speed stuff more, because I think in all likelihood that'll make him a better, more consistent, maybe better over the long haul of a season. So it's one of the beauties, I think, of Ruben and what he does with these guys. He's worked a lot with Nick Pivetta already. We mentioned the 2-seam with Dylan Cease. I think with Dylan, it's interesting. He, the way he talked about it yesterday, I don't know that he seems totally sold on the 2-seamer. It's like when Mike Schultz said the other day that he likes that 2-seamer, but I love it. Mike saying it about that pitch. So it's one of the beauties of spring, and I think one of the beauties of the way Ruben Niebla works. Like you said, gives him free reign to work on stuff and start developing some new parts of their repertoire.
And by the way, if you are still shopping Robert Suarez, doesn't hurt to show a different look to teams, show his flexibility, and they can dream on a pitch as well that he's adding to the mix if you are still looking to potentially trade him during spring training. I mean, it's been very quiet. Remember on the offseason, it was like every day, trade rumor here, trade rumor there.
Yeah.
And it has completely gone silent. I mean, we haven't heard a Dylan Cease trade rumor in the last 3 weeks. Michael King, as soon as he signed his ARB deal, those all dried up. But even the Robert Suarez, not a whisper out there. I mean, I know that AJ Preller is pretty buttoned up. You're not going to get leaks from the Padres side, but usually from the other team's perspectives, you do hear, oh yeah, we called AJ again, looking for a reliever, and spoke to him about Suarez or spoke to him about a couple of his players. Have not gotten any of that lately. So I'm wondering, are we going to get that mid-March surprise that we sometimes get with AJ Preller still? Or is this the team? Is this the roster that they are aiming to at least start the season with on opening day on March 27th?
I mean, I'd certainly be comfortable if this is the team. I mean, unless you're telling me that they have to shed payroll that they haven't shed yet by opening day. But look, my hope is that this is your group, because I think this group, as currently constructed, should be very, very competitive. I mean, look, I think my opinion on if you were going to trade somebody, that it made sense that Robert Suarez might be that guy, because it seems like the bullpen is a place where you could afford to lose some talent and move a guy like that and be okay. But I'd like Robert Suarez to be the Robert Suarez of the first half and anchor what should be a really great bullpen. So we'll see. I don't anticipate it, Ben. I mean, look, I know AJ strikes this time of year. It's pretty rare, though, generally in baseball, to have a big-time trade. Again, last year was a little bit different with the Cease move, but it's a weird time of year to have a really big-time trade, and I don't know. I mean, 3 weeks to opening day, I don't see it, and I kind of hope this is the group they roll with.
I'm just going to say it because I know Padres fans are thinking it, and they may even be thinking it in the front office. I think with Robert Suarez, you are playing with fire, and he is out there, and I think the league is just on the verge, saw it a little bit last season, of figuring out Robert Suarez. If he doesn't add to his repertoire and get a little bit sharper, they will catch up with that fastball. And if he starts the season as your closer and he blows 3 or 4 saves, the trade value is gone. So
sure.
If you can trade him now. You can start the season with him and hope he gets off to a hot start. Gets like 5 or 6 saves. Trade him then. Because I feel better about some of the other guys in the Padres bullpen at this moment. Jeremiah Estrada, Jason Adam, maybe even when he gets healthy, Sean Reynolds. I feel a little more confident in the other guys. I don't have that same feeling, and I know he was an all-star, and I get it, and I'm not trying to bag on Robert Suarez. He hasn't really done anything terrible for the Padres, but in my gut of guts, the Padres might be better off without Robert Suarez and with what they can get for him going forward. Not just saving the salary, but, if they can get a prospect or two, whatever, I think that's still a smart move for this team.
Yeah, I understand that thinking. I would add, though, it's not like Robert, had one good half a season. I mean, 22 was, he was great.
I know.
So, I mean, there is a track record there. I mean, I just see a comment in the chat, saying Robert Suarez, it's fool's gold. I don't know that I agree with that. I understand that the reliance on the fastball is concerning because it just feels like guys can catch up with it. And I think we saw a little bit of that in the second half of the year. I guess when you find a guy that has been, pretty darn reliable at closing games, I'm not so quick to move on from that guy, but I understand the thinking.
It's fair, Sam, and I'm glad you bring that perspective because I could be wrong here. I just don't see. He doesn't have pinpoint control. He throws hard, but so do a lot of guys. I'm not sure how he's doing it, and maybe that's the magic. Maybe he doesn't know either, and the rest of the league can't figure it out as well. But to me, I'm still willing to trade Robert Suarez now or even in May if he gets off to a hot start, if they can get something good for him at this point. All right, we got to take a time out. While we're on our break, you can call Adam. I believe this is our last pair, or no, is it a 4-pack of tickets to Padres spring training in Peoria. That's a 4-pack of tickets to Padres spring training in Peoria. And qualifying for our grand prize, 4 tickets to the Padres Guardians game at Petco Park on April 2nd. Want to thank the Peoria Sports Complex and PeoriaBaseball.com for making these available to all of our listeners the past few weeks. Call now, 833-288-0973. Fourth caller is going to win our last 4-pack and get into the grand prize drawing. But it's not too late to go to PeoriaBaseball.com. Still got out there, hang with Sammy. Last 3 weeks of spring training. Get some baseball in before the regular season starts on March 27th. We'll come back and talk a little San Diego FC, getting ready for their 3rd game. Got a new analyst we're bringing into the mix. Chris Wehan, former pro soccer player, is going to join us a little bit when we come back on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Normally we'd be getting to our Reindl report. Adam asked me, you want to do a Klug report today? I said, no, I'll let you off the hook. If we were doing the Reindl report, it would be brought to you by the Craft Taco. Whether you're craving tacos for lunch or a craft beer for happy hour, the Craft Taco is the answer. Now open in Balboa Park and Sorrento Valley. Now, instead of a Reindl report, Sammy Levitt and I are going to talk to Chris Wehan. He's a former pro soccer player, analyst now, and is going to help us out as we're all trying to learn more about San Diego FC as they get ready for their third MLS match. It is tomorrow night in Salt Lake City, second road match for the franchise. They are 1-0-1. Is that how you say it in soccer, Chris? Did I get that right? Or are they 1-1-0?
No, you got that right.
1-0-1. So 1 win, no losses, 1 tie. Draw.
That is correct.
I've got to work on my terminology. Well, Chris, we appreciate you joining us on the program today. So I think the big news this week, obviously, was yesterday getting an update on the status of Chucky Lozano. We saw him pull up with the hamstring injury in the home opener against St. Louis. What did the team have to say about Chucky's status, and what was your interpretation of how long he's going to be out?
My interpretation was a good one. I think typically in a hamstring injury, if they give any sort of grade, that's when it's bad news. That's when it's going to be a longer-term injury. And Mikey Vargas didn't say anything about any type of grade injury to the hamstring, and therefore he's going to be out more on like a week-to-week basis. But I imagine, especially being early in the season, that they're not going to rush him back anytime soon. I think he's definitely out for Saturday, as they said yesterday. But I would imagine he's probably out the next week as well, is my guess.
In soccer, how it's like a baseball. If you have Fernando Tatis Jr. out, it changes the lineup, but it's only one part of 9, or in this case, one part of 11. How big of an impact does this loss have, do you think, on San Diego FC, specifically on their offense and chance to score goals?
It's definitely going to be a big miss for San Diego. I think, Chucky Lozano is definitely their biggest signing this offseason, and someone that they established as, their playmaker, their guy they're going to. Although he's out, Mikey Vargas didn't say anything about them changing tactics. It's just going to be same as normal, regardless of who's in the lineup. He said nothing changes for us. We're going to play forward. We're going to play fast. We're going to press, regardless of who's in the lineup. So, although it's going to be a big miss, I imagine Emmanuel Boateng slides in at left wing just like he did when Chucky Lozano came out this last Saturday. He definitely gives a different profile, though. He's not as technical on the ball. He's a quick player, quick winger. He's going to be looking to get in behind, whereas Chucky Lozano is more looking to get the ball to his feet and make things happen with the ball at his feet. So it's definitely going to be a big miss for San Diego on the weekend. But I think it's going to be we're going to see a similar sort of play from San Diego this weekend at Salt Lake.
Chris, I want to dive into something you just said there, and I think I think I'll speak for Ben a little bit. I think we're pretty new to watching soccer, full matches, and understanding MLS, and I would assume a lot of our listeners are new to the game and the league as well. When you say technical to the ball, what exactly does that mean when you're talking about that?
When Chucky Lozano gets the ball, he's so crafty. He's looking to beat defenders, going one-on-one. He's looking to take players on, combine off the forward. He's done a great job of combining off Ingvardsson, who's San Diego's number 9, their striker. Whereas Emmanuel Boateng is going to be looking more to get in behind. He's looking to stretch his legs, to run, to look for balls over the top, to get in behind the defense and whip balls across into the box. Chucky's such a crafty player. He's so skilled with the ball at his feet. Scissors, moves, that type of thing is what you like to see out of Chucky Lozano, and combining off other players. Technical, in my definition, is that he's very crafty, very skillful with the ball at his feet.
Okay, we're talking to Chris Wehan, a soccer analyst, former pro soccer player. This comes from a non-soccer fan perspective, but I've always been curious. The numbers, you just said 9 is the striker, 10 is like is the star player. How does exactly the number system in soccer work?
Yeah, the big ones to really know, and it's a new thing for soccer. When I grew up, we didn't talk a lot of numbers, but nowadays, the younger kids are everything is being defined as numbers, and positionally, each number is defined by each position on the field is defined by a number. But really the most important ones to know is the number 10. Whoever's wearing the number 10, that's your Lionel Messi. That's your Chucky Lozano, even though I know he's not wearing the number 10 technically. That's going to be your playmaker, essentially your quarterback, the guy that you want on the ball as much as possible. And so that's really the main one to know. The number 9 is also the forward, the striker, someone that you like to see in front of goals, someone that you're hoping is going to be racking up goals for your team week after week.
Kind of like baseball, every position has a number. They just don't wear the number on their back. Talking to Chris
Right.
Wehan. What do we know about Real Salt Lake? Royal Salt Lake in Spanish, because I assume they're owned by the King of Utah or something. Is this, what kind of challenge will they present for San Diego FC tomorrow?
Yeah, Real Salt Lake's a young team, averaging one of the youngest rosters in the MLS this year. They have a very exciting player to watch, Diego Luna, who's 21-year-old kid, one of the more exciting players, younger players in the MLS, someone that's featured for the U.S. men's national team recently. He's going to be a player to look for. He's their number 10 for Real Salt Lake. But, the toughest thing is going to be going to altitude. This is something that always a team from sea level here in San Diego is going to struggle with. That's the biggest component, the biggest question mark that I have for San Diego FC is going to altitude, going to Salt Lake. Although San Diego has already established themselves to be, a road team, going up to LA and getting a massive victory to start the season. Salt Lake is a young team that they've struggled for results so far. I think they're still trying to find their identity as a team. But, with San Diego and the way that San Diego presses and likes to play fast, I think the biggest question mark for me is going to be how they deal with the altitude.
That's a great point, Chris, about the altitude. Look, obviously the opening match in LA, tremendous victory. It seemed like to me the second match, they controlled the ball a lot. They had a lot of opportunities. They have the 0-0 draw against St. Louis City. Chris, have they surprised you with how they've played and the success they've had so far? Has San Diego FC kind of been what you expected? How would you assess the first 2 matches as a whole and their style of play, what they've done?
They've absolutely surprised me. I think from a new franchise, a new team, these players majority have never played together. I think I was extremely surprised that Mikey Vargas has them playing as a unit, playing as a cohesive group from the get, really from week 1. He has a clear identity. And they've established that they've been very good in possession, and they lead the league in playing forward, essentially possession progression as they defined it. They've established that they're going to not just keep the ball just to keep the ball, but they're going to keep the ball and play forward as quick as possible. And then when they turn the ball over, they're pressing teams, and that's what they did really well this last Saturday. They pressed St. Louis City really well. And Mikey Vargas said that, although they're going to altitude this weekend, nothing changes for their style of play forward fast and then press the opponent. And I think that's the biggest surprise this far in the season is that they've been able to establish themselves as a very cohesive team, although they're a brand new franchise.
Chris, appreciate your insights. Thank you. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do this again.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me on.
All right, Chris Wehan, former pro soccer player and analyst, giving us his thoughts on San Diego FC and their match tomorrow in Salt Lake City at altitude. Yes, just like the Aztecs have to deal with it in college basketball, soccer players have to deal with it even more because they have to run a whole lot more than even basketball players do. Speaking of college basketball, got a new bracketology update of interest to San Diego Hoops fans. We can get to that here in our last final minutes of the program right after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Humwell Casino. Still a little wet on some of our roads, and we've got some flooding around various parts of the county due to last night's storm, so please take it extra carefully if you're heading out. Collision on North on 805 before Orange Avenue. There's a vehicle in the center divide, and looks like a couple vehicles over the right shoulder. Fire crews got that slow lane blocked. Also going to find a vehicle fire on westbound 52 past Mast Boulevard. Appears to be in the clearing stage. In the North County, dealing with a stalled vehicle on the Birmingham off-ramp southbound 5 and College Boulevard on-ramp to westbound 78. There is a collision in the clearing stage. Hey players, things are about to get real here in San Diego with the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, where you can play your heart out and enjoy all the perks that come with it. Opening this summer, Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. Learn more at jamulcasino.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, Sam, we got our first Joe Lunardi, ESPN Bracketology update. Since last night, UCSD winning their 12th in a row, and they are, in fact, up to an 11 seed now, just like San Diego State is an 11 seed in this latest Bracketology. They have San Diego State as one of the last 4 in at-large teams, along with Indiana, Boise State, and Xavier. The San Diego State Aztecs, they have playing in a first 4 game against Indiana Hoosiers. That would be interesting in Dayton, Ohio. And they have UCSD as an 11 seed playing UCLA in a first-round matchup. Now, no one ever gets these exactly right, so you can't really look at the matchups. But that's the level of opponent you can probably expect. I know, obviously, the Aztecs, first of all, you want to get in. More than anything else, you want to get in. And then if you get in, you'd love to avoid having to play an extra game that other teams don't have to play on that first 4. Now, it doesn't mean you can't advance deep into the tournament. Remember, what was it? VCU a few years ago went from the first 4 to the final 4. It is possible. And if you do win that game, if you play in the first 4 and win, I think it gives you an advantage. Yes, you have less time to prepare. You got to travel and play 2 days later, but you've gotten all the nerves out of your system. You feel comfortable going into the NCAA tournament where you might be facing a really tight, nervous opponent in that first game. I oftentimes like to pick that upset of the winner of the first 4 game, usually against a 6 seed, 11 against a 6 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So it's not crushing if you have to play in that game, but obviously winning 7 to win a national championship is a lot harder than winning 6 to win a national championship.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on the first 4 game. I think we see it a lot where teams pick up momentum in that first 4. Look, it also, to your point, means you have to play 1 extra game before you really get into the quote unquote real tournament once you hit Thursday. So I'm with you. Look, I think for San Diego State, with some of the injuries they've had this year, with some of the ups and downs they've had this year, I think getting into a first 4, winning it, trying to go on a run from there, I think that would be a pretty successful campaign with kind of how it's transpired this year. But I'm with you. I think, in a lot of ways, that first 4, if you win it, can provide a lot of good momentum.
And then they have San Diego State and Indiana. That first 4 game would feed into a game against 6 seed Louisville. So, that's the kind of opponents you can be expecting. The interesting thing, and I mentioned it, I think yesterday, but the fact that Boise State is also one of the absolute bubble teams is very important, because San Diego State has swept the regular season series from Boise. Metrics are fairly even. Boise State has some decent numbers, but San Diego State has the better wins, the tougher schedule, and beat them head-to-head twice. So if it really came down to, we're going to pick one last Mountain West team, and we had to pick it today, I have no doubt in my mind you'd pick San Diego State over Boise State today. What could change that? Well, a bad loss at home to Nevada tomorrow night for San Diego State could possibly change that. But another head-to-head meeting against Boise State, which they are trending toward meeting again in the Mountain West tournament, possibly in the 4-5 quarterfinal next Thursday, that would be, I think, a game the committee would absolutely be watching intently. And it's hard to beat a team 3 times. You hear that a lot in football.
Yeah.
And when you have to face a division rival again in the playoffs, it's really hard to beat the same team 3 times in a season. If they did it, San Diego State, I think, would be, at least against Boise State, would have an ironclad argument to get into the NCAA tournament if they did that. And they will probably have that opportunity next week against the Broncos. But that will be one of the biggest quarterfinals probably in Mountain West tournament history next week if it happens.
What's Magoon Gwath's status? I mean, he's not back yet, right?
He is not back yet. He is getting better. He is doing more rehab practice work on the floor. I don't think he's been entirely ruled out for tomorrow. I would be surprised if he plays, but I would expect him to get some minutes in the Mountain West tournament, see how he's feeling, and if it goes well, probably ramping him up to full status for the NCAA tournament if they make it. That would be my expectation for Magoon Guoth going into these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if projected to be a first four, a matchup for San Diego State, I mean, tomorrow's game is massive, right? I mean, a loss to Nevada could have you on the outside looking into the bubble. Like you mentioned, Ben, the potential matchup with Boise State in the conference tournament can be huge. But look, again, I think with kind of the ups and downs of this season, some of the injuries they've had to deal with, obviously it's been a different year for San Diego State, but I think getting there and trying to go on a run from a first four would be kind of a nice way to wrap it up if they can do that.
Colorado State plays Boise State tonight in their regular season finale at Boise State. Congratulations, by the way. USD Toreros did win their opener in the West Coast Conference tournament in Las Vegas yesterday against Pacific, 81-77. They've got I think an impossible road. They got to win like 6 times to win that tournament. They will play their second game today against Loyola Marymount, but Steve Lavin will return next season. They have already, Kimia Massey, the athletic director, did announce that he'll be back for his 4th season despite a 6-21 record. They say they're going to have more NIL resources next year. They will have a new practice facility for the basketball team next year. And most importantly, after next year, they don't have Gonzaga to contend with in their conference anymore, which at least opens the door a little bit to hoping, hey, maybe we could actually win one of these conference tournaments one of these years for USD. Quick business before we go. This segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by Jack in the Box. Wake up on the right side of breakfast with new banana French toast sticks for $3.49 from Jack in the Box. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, and served with chocolate dipping sauce. This is what Jack means by so much more. All right, we've got maybe Padres baseball for you, weather permitting, in Peoria or in Maryvale this afternoon against the Milwaukee Brewers. Kyle Hart now scheduled to make his Cactus League debut with Yu Darvish getting pushed back to tomorrow. Stay tuned to our social media channels for any update if that game is going to be played or not. Can you see? Do you have a window, Sammy, or no?
I do. A little while ago, it looked like the sun was poking out. I don't know if it's still raining or not. I'm not very far away from Maryvale, where they're going to play this game hypothetically today. So we'll see. I also think Stephen Kolek may be scheduled to throw in this game as well.
Another
so it
contender
could be,
for the fifth.
No, it could be it could be a big day with Hart and Kolek, and obviously our first look in the Cactus League at Kyle Hart.
All right. Hopefully we'll have both Paul and Woods back on Monday. Hope Paulie feels better. Hope Woods has a good trip. But I want to thank both of you guys for sitting in with me for the last 4 hours. Adam Klug running the board, Sam Levitt in Peoria, Arizona. Have a great weekend, Sammy. Thank you.
Thanks, you too.
And thank you to all the Tier 1s who joined us as well. Always appreciate you every single morning. We'll have more of our show from earlier today, if you missed it, coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan.
Padres Guardians.
0-2 swing.